Welcome to KG5, Bupa TSL Round 10 action. Glenorchy v Clarence, the old rivals to do battle under Friday Night Lights. Live coverage brought to you by myself, Damien Gill, Chris Rowbottom in the commentary chair, and special comments provided by the ever insightful Cam Brown. Good evening, gents.
Good evening, Rowe, and good evening, Gilly. Really looking forward to this one tonight. Both teams at different stages of their development, aren't they? And Glenorchy with just a couple of losses, albeit a surprise one last week to Launceston and Clarence. We saw them on the stream last week, Gilly, and they were a little bit outclassed in the end, weren't they? And probably a disappointing performance. So it's all about the response for them today, Rowe, I think, from a Clarence perspective.
Yes, good to be here. Chilly old night out at KG5, a little bit of breeze about.
We've had colder, I reckon, though, right?
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's classic footy conditions, and what a big night it is for the Glenorchy Footy Club as we see some pictures there of some of the old legends. I think that might be Bucket Akin at the front there with the one of the Premiership Cups, and we all, of course, know that it is a big year for Glenorchy. They've been celebrating it hard all season, haven't they? The 100 year, the centenary of the footy club, and why not too, because 100 years is pretty special. And tonight, well, they play their old enemy, don't they? Their arch rival who they've had so many classic battles with over the years, and what a night it would be for the Pies if they were to rub some salt into Clarence's wounds. But on the other side of the ledger, what a night it would be for the Roos if they were to spoil the party and just steal one away from the Pies on their night of nights. It would be a little bit extra sweet. So going to be a good contest. Both teams with a little bit of extra motivation, and yeah, really looking forward to getting into it. Yeah,
well, it's the centennial game. They've got their big dinner tomorrow night, and geez, you wouldn't want to enter the dinner if you haven't got the chocolates over Clarence. So I think there's heaps riding on this for the Black and White Army. But they've been pretty good this season, Cam Brown. They've only lost the 2 games up against the northern outfits, North Launceston. And it must be said, a shock loss to Launceston last week. We would have had Glenorchy heavily favoured in that one. But it's been a story of injuries bringing them undone this season, isn't it?
Yeah, through no fault of their own. So it's certainly tested their depth, particularly when you look at a player like Daniel Joseph, such a beautiful user off half-back. They've had to restructure things a little bit there, and different players. Braden Webb's another one, and numerous players out of their organisations they're about to run out now in front of a previous Premiership team. I'm just trying to think what that Premiership team might be. Boys, maybe is it 99?
I think it is
memory?
99.
Yeah, it might be the 99 team, yep.
And recognise a few old faces there. But it was interesting during reading some of the media during the week too, Ray. Paul Kennedy, he's really embraced the Glenorchy-Clarence rivalry. Mentioned that he probably misread the history behind that and the significance for players, so he's really got involved in that. Clarence, from their perspective, Jeremy Webber has probably distanced himself a little bit of that, a young group, and it's more about the education of the players rather than tapping into the rivalry. So interesting that two coaches just going about a little bit differently.
If you're a young Clarence player, though, is it important that the education does start around some of the rivalry and some of the history around the club? It's probably not going to make them better footballers, but you might just extract an extra 1 or 2% out of them on the night when they come up against Glenorchy, when there is so much history there. So you mentioned that PK has sort of started to buy into it, and I love that. I love that flame still burns within the competition. So often around the country, and you look across the AFL, it can be a little bit sanitised at times, but that tribalism is what you really need, especially in the local game, and it's great to see Glenorchy still buying into that. Let's be honest, the two teams don't like each other. They do not like each other.
Of course they don't.
And Jeremy Webley can try and spin it all he
wants.
Yeah,
I don't know whether he's just sort of playing that down a little bit, but I think behind closed doors he'd be pumping up the feud a bit. And also, to be honest, we watched Clarence last week, Brownie, we know they'll be smarting off what they dished up last week, and they probably won't need the extra motivation, but I think they'll get it because they don't like to lose against this mob Glenorchy, and you look at the names on paper and they're a pretty darn good outfit.
They are, and plenty of players with we've been speaking about it a little bit on the stream, haven't we, over the weeks with the under-25 match coming up, and the squad was announced during the week, so plenty to play for from an individual perspective with regard to that, and lots of Glenorchy players named in that squad during the week. A couple of players come back into that team tonight. They'll be enthused by Reece Mott's 150th game today, so that's a great achievement for him. What a player he's been at the top level as Clarence come out on the ground as we speak, boys. But Clinton French gets another opportunity, and he'll add a little bit of bite across half forward line for them. Zach Webster comes back in for the Centennial Clash, so that's another opportunity for them. So it's a different look in that forward half today for Glenorchy, because I think Zach Webster will play forward predominantly.
It would be interesting to see how they deploy Zach Webster, because a fortnight ago he was off half back against North Hobart, and he was fantastic, virtually filling the void of Daniel Joseph. So it'd be interesting to see how he is used today. We should have a look at the Clarence lineup as they make their way out onto the ground in the maroon tonight. I must admit, I like the maroon.
So is that a Clarence decision?
It's a Bingley Linton every year they wear.
Done that for a few years,
Yes.
isn't it? It's the old strip made famous by that 1970 Clarence Premiership team, the very first one from the Eastern Shore in the old TFL days. But a different look about them tonight. They've got 3 forced changes in this one, Gilly. James Holmes, we saw him get concussed right on the boundary line just before half-time last week. Wade Wall misses with shin splints, and
Shin splints?
Yes, yeah. And Ethan Jackson's also out, albeit that with availability playing with the Devils tomorrow. And Proprotny's in, Sam Banks and Trent Hope. So really looking forward to seeing Sam Banks, boys. Just a young man starting his career in a TSL level, but has already been playing as a bottom age player, if there's such a terminology, for the Devils, and is becoming more equipped and comfortable at that level, and he gets an opportunity today playing against men.
No, it's fantastic to have him back in the side. And I like the Proprotny returning to the team. He had the weak spell, and he'll come back into this team. But having talked to Jeremy Webley during the week, he was livid with the way they played on the weekend. I mean, a lot of teams go down by heavy margins to North Launceston, but I think it was the manner in which it happened last week, Brownie. They just weren't up to their usual standard, Clarence.
No, and some of their ball use in particular and their decision making really hurt them. I thought they started off quite well, and but then a couple of goals late in the first quarter, North Launceston, and then they didn't really fire a shot from an offensive point of view. I thought through different stages their effort was really good, but they get another opportunity today. We know it's a young team. They're trying to get games into players like Beerley, who's making his way. We mentioned Banks. Butterworth's another one who's been really impressive. Proprotny. So there's different players there that we're looking to see. Little bits from. Smith's another one too. Gilly, we thought he was okay in terms of his leading patterns last week, and he's at lead up, hit up forward. It'd be nice for him personally if he can get amongst it a little bit today with some early touches.
I've just been sent through the final teams, and it's a massive blow for Clarence. So listed on our screen right now has Jake Cox. He is out of the team. So in comes Jordan Eade into that forward pocket role. He must be said he hasn't performed at an extremely high level, Jake Cox, but when you're talking about Glenorchy and Clarence, he's a player you'd love to have out there, and unfortunately are laid out.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt them because he can be so damaging up forward and so creative in the middle of the ground. Maybe he has been carrying a bit of a niggle too, Rowie, because we watched him last week and probably wasn't at his best in terms of having that confidence and continuity in his body. So a big blow for Clarence, and he would have been playing against his old side, of course.
Gee, to be flat. To not be playing out here in a Clarence jumper against his old side at KG5, where he did some wonderful work early on in his state league career. It's a big out for Clarence, and probably swings it even further into Glenorchy's favour tonight, because they are favourites. Have you got a tip, boys?
Oh, I think Glenorchy, and I would have thought pretty comfortably on their home deck tonight.
Yeah, I'm much the same. I think Glenorchy will salute in style. I think the build-up and how much has been created around this game, I think it's too big a price to pay if they don't get the chocolates.
Zach Webster, Aidan Gray starting in a forward pocket.
So in the middle, Duffy collides with Bailey, brings it down to the full for the runners. It was helped out, and Clarence will get the first clearance. It comes forward through Chambers, kicking in the nil direction, brings it to ground, but it's mopped up by Webster. He hands it out, and the way they move Glenorchy. James Webb, dynamic user of the footy, finds Reeves, who strides out and takes the grab. So Reeves, fast start here, kicks towards a target in Bowden. Bowden steers it back in board, chopped off by Bailey.
Good kick.
Good kick indeed. Finds the coach, Jeremy Webberley.
So Webberley off half back has a target out wide, hits him. Clarence in possession of the ball. That earlier kick was looking for Jay Bowden and just missed him and couldn't quite gather it off hands. There's a contest on the wing. Umpire plucks out a free kick for over the shoulder. It'll go to Reeves.
Good start for him. A couple of early touches.
He's been pretty good this season for the Pies. He just digs a short ball into the middle of the ground. And he's in trouble. He's wrapped up. Handball comes out in the gear direction, unable to gather going through. Scrappy ball back into the middle of the ground. Riley missed it. Through came a Clarence jumper. I think it was the youngster in need. He got the handball away, but it'll all be held up on centre wing out of side.
So, tight start. Clarence have come to play. It's Bailey and Duffy. Duffy commanding hit out straight down the throat of Camrick. Eventually comes out. Swung around by Geared. A bouncing ball. He's cut off and they're at the races here. Handed off by Edmondson. He found the coach, Webberley. Measured pass, cut off by Salter. Scurries out the footy. Bounces towards Bester, doesn't reach him. Hope now, shakes off one and finds the captain. Good candy sold there by Brady Jones. Kicking now in the nil direction. Terrific grab.
Brilliant, Mark.
Arnold back with the flight and takes a ripper.
Cracking grab by Arnold, who reload. The Pies now off half back. It's in the hands of Salter. He goes into the middle of the ground. The mark's been paid to Geared.
He's an underrated player, Geared, I reckon, boys.
Just managed to hold on as he gets onto his left boot, kicks towards half forward in the Bowden direction, who comes out and marks on his chest, wheels around immediately, sends a low ball inside 50 deep. It's gathered on the line and it's finished off nicely by Reeves.
Yeah, good start for him, isn't it? 3 early touches, finishes off with a goal. And Jay Bowden involved in that one. Just not 100% sure, but Aidan Butterworth looks like he's going to him at the moment. And what an education for him to be playing on pretty much the best player in the competition. And they're putting pressure on the young man as well. Glenorchy, good coaching, trying to drag Butterworth back to the goal square.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's great from both teams.
Yeah, I like it from both coaches.
And
you know, well, if you're going to send a kid to Jay Bowden, we'll make it hard for him.
Yep, and he'll learn so much about tonight. A couple of other matchups, boys, too. Harrison Gunther is going to Chris Neal, who this time, the previous occasion these two teams played, actually picked up Aidan Grace.
So back in the middle again. Big bounce. Duffy brings it down, but it's straight into Clarence arms. Here's Webberley, breaks away. Be good to see the Clarence coach have a big influence on a big occasion. Chambers tries to brush off and win the footy. In there was Webster. So was Gunther. He came through and won the ball, but was climbed on top of. Maroon jumpers all around him. A bit of fire in this one. Who says the rivalry's gone? Certainly doesn't look that way.
Zach Webster in the thick of it, as he likes to be.
Umpire Joel Harris tosses it up. Duffy down to his runners. Gathering was the big hairy cat. Big hairy Roo, as he likes to call himself, Matt Ling. I'm not sure about it.
It's a self-imposed nickname,
I believe so.
Okay.
It's Bailey jostles and gets front position, but a commanding hit out one by Duffy. Here goes Camrick. What an improved player. Kicks towards Daly, just out of his stretch. Here comes Jay Bowden, pounces and finishes off.
Well, Jay does what Jay does. That was beautiful, wasn't it, across the body? How often have we seen that? But Camrick on the move from the stoppage was outstanding here, boys. He was the one player that took it upon himself to charge forward. It was a beautiful hit out, and Jay just laying that one across the body.
Didn't break stride there, Jay Bowden. I think the thing about Ben Camrick that's so impressive, Cam Brown, is he'd be an absolute lock for the under-25 team.
Oh, yep.
And at the start of the year, I'm not sure you would have said that.
No, he's been in terrific form now. Been a very consistent player for Glenorchy for a couple of years now, but he's at the peak of his form. That was brilliant work then from the ball up and the resulting run and carry that allowed that goal.
So back in the middle, be Duffy to go up, as will Bailey. He got the fist down, but was immediately pounced upon by Arundel, who just do what he likes out of the middle of the ground. Kick towards 50, contest, nobody able to take the mark. It's roved. It's a kick inside 50, tumbling ball. Who can gather? It's all Clarence back there. As the player lost his feet and it'll trickle over the boundary line for a boundary throw-in. Gabby Chambers back there just tumbling along, losing his feet, and it's Glenorchy press forward once again. So they lead here, the Pies, 2 straight 12. They're looking for a third. It's deep in their forward line. Chambers will go after it again and take it over the boundary line. Right forward pocket.
Chambers is one of those players, boys, that I would have thought the coaching staff from Clarence would be looking for a big game.
In fact, it's Banks out there. These maroon jumpers have caught us off guard with a couple of numbers. Rucks go at it. Down it comes. Fighting at ground level. It's a handball over the top. It's into Clarence arms, though. Kick around the corner to nobody in particular. In fact, it might be out of bounds on the full. Pie says, throw it in.
So, a sharp start for the Magpies. 2 goals to the good. A fresh KG5. Friday Night Lights, bit of a rare occasion in the TSL. So Duffy gets front position. The double palm slap down for Camerick. He fires out of bounds on the full. So
wasn't his best effort, but once again, he was the one player that read the hit out to advantage, was on the move.
So a low flying ball out of defence. Works pretty well into the arms of the skipper, Jones. It's one of their few that could walk away with their heads held high last week. Coach Jeremy Webley over the top. Here is the big hairy root, Matt Ling. So he looks to a crowded wing. There's a couple trying to ride there in the end. Finds its way out of bounds.
It's a bit of a tussle here. Clarence yet to make a real meaningful foray forward. Pies with 2 early ones. And they'll be certainly handy. There's one down there by Bailey. He might have got his opponent in the back. Umpire said he did. The chance now for the Pies to go forward. It'll be called back. Rundle was keen to go on with it. Players just sort themselves out. Brady Jones in there.
Bit of niggle.
So they eventually do get it moving by hand onto the left boot of Reece Mott into the pocket, and he fails to hit a target. Was looking for Grace, the former Roo, who will also be pretty keen to get one back on his former side.
Yeah, no love lost there. I think it's pretty well documented that Clarence weren't real happy to lose him either.
And why would they be? He's a good player and had a fantastic season so far for Glenorchy. He's dangerous around goals. He went away for a while and really worked on his game, and he's come back an improved player as the Roos now move it out of defence, kick into space. Maroon jumper will get there first, and there's some time and space just to work things out. Runner receives on the outer side. Harper kicks towards 50 for Clarence, unable to spot up a target. Mopped up down there by a black and white jumper. Handball over the top, missed the mark in Webb as they battle for the footy. It eventually goes out of bounds right in front of the interchange benches.
Young Preshaw, number 12 for Clarence. He's pretty good last week, Gilly, predominantly with his ball use. So I thought he looked quite composed on a few occasions.
So the ball to be thrown in. Broadcast side. Through the fingers of Bailey. Out for that man, Preshaw. The ball was blocked by Banks Smith. Webley somehow got it out. Quite creative. Off the boot of Bailey. Heads towards 50. Neal does well to bring it down. Sitting under this is Chambers. There's a job to do. They're into him. Gunther not happy about it. So they ball it up. Reeves to duke it out with Sam Green of all people. So Sam Green couldn't win that one. I don't think he ever was really a sniff as the ball swung inside forward 50. Getting best position. Terrific defensive grab was Arnold.
Great mark.
Become accustomed to seeing that time and time again. He pokes a little ball towards the defensive 50. It was cut off by Green. Did pretty well. Shakes off one. Drops in board. Swinging boot from Harper. Again. They mop up at the back. A little pokey ball, and here's Arnold. Arnold, low flying ball. There's a whistle.
Yeah, free kick down the ground for a late hit on the Clarence player there.
So the Roos have, I don't know what the free kick count is, but the Pies have certainly had the bulk of them, as Reece Mott with the green boots kicks Glenorchy forward, and there's been another whistle here. And another Glenorchy free kick for a push. So they've been a little bit sloppy early, Clarence, in their body work. Just trying to be that man. Jay Bowden just pulls his kick, looking for a target inside 50. Couldn't hit Gunther, who's wandered forward. It'll be rebounded out now. Good smother there by Banks Smith, who mops up his own work, gives it off to a runner, kick around the corner. Just misses. Glenorchy extend the lead by 1 point there, 2-1-13. Clarence yet to score.
Haven't minded the intent of Clarence so far, but just a little untidy. Bringing it out of defence, the outer side. Arriving was Green. Did well to bring it to ground. Webberley wrestling for the footy. Butterworth gets it out. Green now slaps it on the boot. It'll be caught, and you'd think pretty well dealt with by Trad Duggan. He finds Mott. Mott! Just perfect and on the platter. Finds Bailey Bester. Drops it off. Into the pocket. I thought it was probably taken by Arundel, and the umpire agreed. We see this again. Bailey Bester. Good kick for Arundel. In the end, it's probably front arm contact that arrives in the arms of Rundle.
He's always been a good overhead mark as a junior, Sam Rundle.
So, crossed over from Launceston this year. A big year for the Magpies. That kick is a long way from his best. A minor score.
They love the next goal, the Roos. They haven't had too many ventures inside their forward 50.
Short one out is good. So they try to create something here. They're still hemmed in. There's a short ball inside, which is used, and they just try and figure something out here on the near side. So get the score, Clarence. Trailed by 14 points early this one. Kick was a good one up towards a wing, and they've retained possession nicely. That's a good kick in board as well. So Harper plays on immediately. Likes something out there. It's a high ball. If he can hit it, it'll be good. And he does to Webberley, who's had a good amount of the footy early. His scrubby little one to Howlett wasn't fantastic, but he manages to gather and poke one in short. That wasn't a great bit of work from Smith, who dropped the chest mark. Disputed ball now at ground level. Big tackles laid. Spills out now. Camrick has it. Nearly claimed holding the ball. Gear got his handball away. Chance now for Clarence to go forward through Ling. High ball inside 50. Nobody able to take the mark. Little handball was dropped off to Bailey. He had Jones calling for it. Couldn't quite work it to him. Camrick went in hard. He was claimed. Pies will get out. It's slippery out there. Banks Smith lost his feet. Bailey came bustling on through. Couldn't gather cleanly. Riley's there now, and he's claimed in a big, strong tackle by Sam Hall.
Good pressure, really, from Clarence, just to keep it in there. It looked like Glenorchy were going to get out of dodge at times. So back up it goes again. Duffy commanding hit out. Geared, couldn't get it out. Preshaw looked to throw it on the boot. They manufacture something here, the Roos. It almost landed in the arms of Webberley. He's not happy about it. I think he might get a free kick. So he was already protesting as if he wasn't going to get the kick. We'll see again. Yep, arms around. It's a dead set tell. So Jeremy Webberley.
Yeah, it's important for his team. He can go back and convert here, because Glenorchy have been threatening. As we've mentioned, the effort from Clarence has been okay, but they just need some reward on the scoreboard for their confidence.
Well, this would be massive. Jeremy Webberley can power at home. In he comes. Player of his quality. You'd never bet against him from there. Steers at home. Important for Clarence.
Yeah, very important for their confidence. We mentioned they would have been disappointed with their effort last Saturday against North Launceston, who totally outclassed them in the end. But some good signs for them halfway through this first quarter, and just 7 points of difference just settles them a little bit.
Had an influence early, hasn't he, Webley?
He has.
Had a bit of the footy, kicked the goal. It's been good. Go back in the middle of KG5, Pies 2-2-14. They lead Clarence 1 straight 6. Just a tick over 16 minutes gone in this first term on a pretty cool Glenorchy evening as it's ripped out of the middle now by Riley. Kick around the corner towards half forward. It bounced over the one-on-one contest. Eid will go in after it. Camerick tried to get and go. Geared gathered the footy, but he was wrapped up in a tackle. The umpire says, "I'll have it, please."
So Clarence, an important goal through Webley. They seem a different outfit this week. It's Glenorchy who break away, and again it's Camerick. Shows a fresh set of heels to Matt Ling. Just moves it with real haste and purpose.
Good mark, running back with the flight.
Fantastic grab from Bowden. You expect nothing less. He kicks deep, looking in the Reeves direction. Did well to work his player under it. Eventually took a juggling grab. You see this again. He just worked his man Edmondson under it really nicely.
Yeah, held it long enough, I thought, didn't he?
Eventually took the grab, and in he comes. Pops it through. So the immediate answer for the Magpies.
Yeah, he's been a handy recruit for them. As you mentioned early on in the call, Rowie, I think that's his third mark. So he's started really well. But what made that goal, we talk about players wheeling and going and playing on. Jay Bowden took the mark, running back with a fly to the ball, but then bounced up and drove it quickly. And that's all you want from a forward, to have some time and space, get some one-on-ones with your opponent. Don't give the opposition time to set back and fill in the hole, and he was the benefit of it then, Sam Reeves. Good finish too.
It's back in the middle once again. It's Glenorchy with a 14-point advantage. 18 minutes gone. 3-2-20. There is 1 straight 6. Goes once again decisively one as Glenorchy go forward again. There's a player on a big lead. It was Bowden, of course. Picked up again by Reeves to Daly, who kicks around the corner, and Glenorchy have their 4th.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Daly, as you know, boys, and just love his forward craft. And he has been one of those players who seems to me to get better every week. Has the tap in the centre of the ground too. And
Duffy.
then just watch him here. Just waits, and beautiful handball as well from Sam Reeves, and lays it across his body, Daly, and probably the premier small forward in the competition, I would have thought, at the moment, Gilly.
When you big tall timber down there can take 3 marks, kick a couple of early goals and dish off handballs like a rover to the smalls running past, he's starting to cause headaches, isn't he?
He is indeed. So we're back in the middle. See what Duffy can do from this one. Bailey answers the call and kicks it out of the middle. Bustle on through Glenorchy. It's a hot footy to win. Bailey shovels it out, but it's all the Magpies, and it comes out with the laser-like boot of Webster. He picks out Reeves, who's had a really good start to this game. He's already kicked 2. Kicks a deep ball looking for Grace. There was a good punch coming from Butterworth, and it'll go against Grace. He dealt with his opponent illegally.
They look dangerous, though, Glenorchy, on the spread, and some of their forward 50 entries. They look like scoring at the moment every time they go inside 50.
So they're hemmed in here, the Roos. They've got to work it out wisely. Sam Lewis-Johnson spent a lot of time in the Devils program so far this season, kicking for Jones. Asks a fair bit of Jones with the kick. It's brought down from Neil. There's a couple of Magpies on hand. Banks Smith gets by 1. The kick works out. Not sure that's what he meant with it, but it lands in Camerick's arms. He looks deep, and it's all Glenorchy. Grace on his own!
There's good mark and nice presentation and delivery as well. And they've just been able to find some space. Very disciplined in terms of the leading patterns of the Glenorchy players. They're prepared to lead up at the ball carrier. If that lead is not on it, it gives the person coming from behind that space. And they've been benefiting as a forward group.
So against the old mob, Aiden Grace kicked one early last time the two teams met. He add to the account tonight. Never looked like missing. Struck very sweetly. Aiden Grace on the board and 5 on the board for the Magpies. An imperious start here at their home venue.
Yeah, what's impressed me, Ro, has been their efficiency with their ball use, Glenorchy going inside. They seem to have really good connectivity and understanding between the midfield and half-back with their forwards. They know when to go slow, they know when to lower their eyes or to pick out a tall target going long, and looks a pretty tough task at the moment for the back six for Clarence.
It was a fairly fortuitous kick that sort of landed in the lap of Camerick, but he got on his bike immediately and picked out Grace, and Camerick's just starting to win so much of the ball.
They're going to have to put some time in him.
It looks like they are with Matt Ling going on. Sorry, Rowie.
No, that's okay. Back into the middle we go. Glenorchy try to wrestle it out and maybe make a foray for the 6th goal of the term. 22 minutes deep, almost 23. And you're right, it's a strong start for the Pies. Only the one real meaningful entry forward for Clarence. To be fair, it did result in a Jeremy Weberley goal. So they try and fight and do battle. And the man out the back on his own was Rundle, who gave it off to Mod, who won't miss a target on his left boot. It was in the Grace direction. He couldn't quite take the mark. Daly was in there fighting hard. He gathered and he was tackled. It's all wrapped up in the right forward pocket.
In that previous stoppage, boys, I just watched the Glenorchy forwards. They all gathered as a group, and as soon as Glenorchy won possession, they spread.
Up it goes again. It was Grace doing the ruck work. It's gathered there by Weberley it was, who's been pinged, holding the ball.
He'll be dark on that, won't he?
He'll be filthy on that.
It's going the way of Grace too.
Especially going into the arms of the man they fought so hard to keep. And I'm sure Jeremy was very deeply involved in those discussions.
He was good, Grace, the last time these two teams played. Sometimes it can go the other way when you're playing against your old team.
You don't really want to light a fire under this guy, do you? Because if he manages to put this through to be second in space of 2 or 3 minutes, he sends the ball on its way. It was sliding across the face and eventually misses it to the near side. So a minor score for the Pies, extend their lead by a point.
It's looming large, this, Brownie.
Yeah, some concerns, I would have thought, for Jeremy Weberley and Jared Reid on the bench for the Roos.
So Butterworth, him in the back pocket, long-ranking ball. And eventually all collide, foaming out with Lewis Johnson. Ling couldn't gather, socketed it along. Gunther just paddled in the direction of the Magpies. Mott had his ball blocked, but it still found its way inside forward 50, able to butter up. Candy shot. Mott!
Oh, he's had a great first quarter, hasn't he? The milestone man. Goal number, what's that, 6 or 7, boys, for Glenorchy.
6.
Gets it out to 32 points, and he's won a lot of the footy. He's not overly quick with leg speed, but he's fast in mind with his decision-making. He's got a nice sidestep and a beautiful user of the footy. A couple of times already tonight he's lowered his eyes to a forward target, and on that occasion, slam one through. Great play.
Slight discrepancy in the scoreboard between the one
I think we're right.
and
I think it is 6-3.
Your on-screen score is correct. 6-3-39. Clarence won straight 6, Pies by 33 points. Deep into this first term, and Clarence just need to stop the bleeding here before the siren goes. A red time goal would be a disaster as Glenorchy look to go forward again. Rundle dishes it out to Mott. Left foot kick is good to Banks Smith.
You can't get their hands on the footy at the moment, Clarence.
So Banks Smith sees something he likes on the outer side of the ground, goes in that direction. Rundle was in the contest again. He was affected out of it. It'll be paddled along to Paprotny. He got his handball up. Kick forward now for Clarence, but only as far as Gunther sends it back in the opposite direction. Good mark coming out by Rundle. You mentioned his mitts earlier, Cam Brown, and that one stuck. Little short ball inside 50. Might just fall. In fact, it won't. It's been picked up. High ball deep into the pocket. Grace will be lurking. He can't quite bring it under his spell, and it bounces out of bounds in the right forward pocket.
Yeah, Zach Bushner with the job on Aiden Grace. We know he's got the athleticism and the leg speed.
It's a big job, though, isn't it, Brownie? As the ball comes in again, the ruckman collide. It's gathered by that man Bushner. He gets the ball away. Riley spilt it, but able to butter up. They'll move it outside of 50. They just need a bit of ball retention here, I reckon, the Roos. Ball blocked from Gunther. Should be able to negotiate this one, Brennan. It's seen out of play. It was out in the full, in fact, so it'll go the way of Webberley. I think he'd be pretty filthy with the way things are tracking, but I've got to say Glenorchy have been on.
They have, I agree.
They look very good. So a little kick down the line. They'll just move it inch by inch here. That one asked a little bit too much of the intended target. It was juggled over, I think, so I think it'll be a boundary throw-in. So it was Banks out there on the outer side.
Nothing going right.
Well, that's it. So far, it's been a bit of a disaster for the Roos. Bailey and Reeves. Reeves just deals with Bailey. Play goes on. Big Reeves-Clive's on top. Eventually, it's going to be a free kick. It's going the way of Jones. He feeds out. Juggling effort. They keep it moving. The Roos. That was Banks out to Butterworth. Measured ball. It was a good one.
It's good. Good build up here from Clarence. Transition the
ball.
ball nicely.
Young Beerley. Jeez, he chiselled that well. Now it'll come through from Jacob Smith. That was not his best kick at all. Meant for Preshaw and found geared of the opposition. Looking for French, a good fist. So came back and butted up, did Beerley. 6-3-39. One straight 6. Quite the deficit. As we in the dying embers of the opening term.
Directly in front of our live stream position here at KG5. Comes in once again, the rucks wrestle. No real clear winner in the tap as a pair of players go to the deck with ball in hands. Geared emerges. And by Joel Harris doing the officiating tonight. Up it goes again. Tap one down by Bailey. Mott couldn't gather cleanly. It was tapped over the head of Reeves. Dished out now to Chambers, who comes back inside and hits a target in Paprotny. He kicks up beyond a wing. It'll be nicely juggled, almost marked by the Glenorchy player in Brennan, but it was juggled over the line. We'll have another boundary throw in. Deep into this first term, 33 points the margin. Damien Gill mentioned that Jeremy Webberley would not be happy. And you can hardly blame him, the old enemy here at KG5. The footy finds itself in the hands of Rundle. Kick towards half forward now for Glenorchy. They've got the numbers. It's almost gathered nicely by French, and French kicks to the top of the square. He's unable to score, and it's picked off by a maroon jumper for the Roos.
Way it comes. It's risky stuff, dicey stuff from Bushner, but able to hit his target. So it's in the arms of Lewis Johnson. 33 points adrift. The Roos. Might be a 50 in that. No, it'll just be the Clarence ball as they move it along that far wing here at KG5. Good fist coming. Seen out for the Magpies. So 29 and change gone. Can't be left, long left rather, in this first quarter. Quarter that has absolutely belonged to the hosts. Glenorchy have been sensational. Reeves in the ruck. He's been a big part of it. Taps it out the back. Almost gathered by Banks. Not quite. Fingering out the side. Banks Smith. Inboard kick. Great kick. Juggling effort from Grace. I don't think that score will count. He was out in the full anyway. But a massive quarter for the Glenorchy Magpies. A big night, a big occasion, and so far a big margin. 6-3-39. Clarence, just the 1 goal, 6.
Yeah, they've looked dominant right from the word go. Glenorchy, as you mentioned, Damien Gill, they've been on, haven't they? Some of their ball use, they've been quick. They've been a really disciplined group, I would have thought, from the forward half group as well. There's constant movement. This player on screen, Ben Camerick, I thought his first quarter was absolutely outstanding. Reece Mott was another player that was heavily involved. We saw Daly. Bowden bobbed up and kicked a goal assist in there as well. They probably had the dominant ruckman on the ground in Duffy. And apart from a free kick to the coach, there wasn't much to cheer about from a Clarence perspective, certainly from an offensive point of view, Ro.
Certainly wasn't. They only made a couple of real meaningful forays forward, and that was one of them, the free kick to Jeremy Webley, and even as late as 27, 28 minute mark of that final term, we saw Clinton French almost get on the end of one, and Aidan Grace sort of bobbled a chest mark that he could well have taken, and Glenorchy were just lining up at one stage, and they kicked 6 goals, and take a 33-point lead into quarter time, and can't accuse them of not cashing in.
Well, they're on the rebound too. The Roos are a little bit stiff in that regard, and Glenorchy, they would be smarting from last week's performance. And the best way to answer that and respond is a strong first quarter, and they've backed it up on the scoreboard, 33-point lead. So it's going to be a challenge now for this young Clarence group, and they probably need some of those mid-tier players, Damien Gill, to step up for them now and try and carry some of these youngsters. It's a difficult task when some of these boys are probably, a number of them, a dozen games or less at the top level. But they just need to stick fat as a group, not throw in the towel, and just really try and control the ball a little bit. I just thought, for a period of about 10 or 15 minutes, they just couldn't get their hands on the footy, boys, and Glenorchy made them pay, didn't they? And it looks like they've... what have they got already? 5 different goal scorers, which is a great start in the first quarter.
And look at the names too. That Reeves obviously was really, really good. He's not one of the big stars, but then you go Bowden, Daly, Grace and Mott. They are some of the big stars for Glenorchy. So the big names getting off the chain and getting on the end of some goals, especially a couple of midfielders there in Mott, and Bowden is pushing up the ground a little bit, Daly as the smaller, and Grace as the forward target. So ominous signs for the Roos here, Gilly.
You spoke about the mid-tier of Clarence, Brownie. I think that's been their issue this year. They've only won the one game up against North Hobart, but their youngsters are good, but they're just a bit too young. And they need more from that middle tier to carry a bit more of the load. And at the moment, I don't think they're getting it. I think Brady Jones and Jeremy Webley are doing their bit, but it's that next bracket.
I agree. I agree with that, and they're the players that are probably going to have to respond from a Clarence perspective. We spoke a lot about the Glenorchy midfielders and the forwards, but the backs don't do too much wrong, Ray. We saw really early on setting the tone, Arnold, going back with the flight of the ball, and he did it on another occasion as well. I think Gunther started really well. Some of his kicking, his long kicking has been a real feature. They're just very organised and very predictable. They've got a lot of cohesion in terms of players that have played together from a long period of time now. Contrast that, Gilly, with the Clarence group, and some of these players wouldn't even, we mentioned this last week, and we're not trying to give them an out, but a lot of them haven't even trained together in terms of some of these boys, like a Sam Banks, for instance, heavily involved in the junior program, Lewis Johnson, Green, these sorts of players, don't always train that extensively with their club. So that makes it really difficult, I guess, from leading patterns and trying to pick up game plans and things like that.
Yeah, no question about that. They've got a massive job to do here to try and wrestle their way back in the contest. I don't know. I know it's only quarter time, but it is 33 points. I mean, at some stage, does it become about a bit of scoreboard management, do you think, at all, Brownie? Because it's
you're worried about them getting blown out and the confidence. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a fine line, isn't it? I mean, I love the move of Butterworth on Bowden. I just think that's terrific for his footy development. And whether the temptation, if Jay gets a hold of him, might be to make the move. But I reckon he's going to learn so much in the next 3 quarters of footy by playing on a superstar of the competition for over a decade now than he would by actually moving off him. Can go back, review his edits and things like that. So I hope they stick fat with that matchup because it'd be a great challenge for someone like Adrian Butterworth, who's been in pretty good form, it's got to be said too, from a young man making his way in the game.
So what's being said in each of those huddles right now? The huddle, they're pretty similarly sized, aren't they? The Glenorchy and Clarence huddles, which is good to see. The Glenorchy one's just starting to break up. But what would PK be saying to his troops? Would he have to say much? And what would Webley be saying to his boys?
I think he'd be delighted with the start, PK. And he would just be I guess trying to drill in to keep being predictable to your teammates, keep moving the ball quickly, honour, and I watched their forward half at one stage there set up on a stoppage, which was clearly a set play in terms of they all got together in a group. As soon as they won the footy, they all spread to different directions. There was constant ball movement, and what you want to do against the arch rival is probably put the foot down. Don't give them opportunity to grind their way back in to this game a little bit and get into some bad habits. They should be pretty fresh. It's a challenge, isn't it, for the Clarence coaching staff, because you want to be firm with the group, but you want to be educational in what you're saying to them and how they go about it. You need to give them some direction. I think their backs need to tighten up a little bit. I think they've got to win some mid-tier. I think they've got to win some footy clearly in the middle of the ground, because they were beaten badly there. So they didn't really give their forwards much of a chance when it's all said and done. They didn't have a lot of control of the footy, but I don't want to harp about it, but there's a number of players now in that group that I would have thought the coaching staff would be saying to those mid-tier players, we need to lift, it's time for you guys to carry us.
And the first goal is important too, because Glenorchy kicked the first goal here. It gets up to sort of 39, 40 points, and mentally that's not a deficit that you want to have on your mind. But Clarence kicked the first goal. It's back to that 27 mark, which just, it's only one goal, but it just sounds better, doesn't it? It just feels better to be sort of 27 points down rather than getting up to 40 points, and you probably still have a bit of that spring in your step. So first goal pretty important here for both teams.
Chris Neal probably hasn't had many chances at all in the first 30 minutes. Gunther's probably been on top in that one, but he looked really dangerous and last week and started the game really well, didn't he, Gilly? And looked the most dangerous forward from a Clarence perspective. So they've got to try and give him an opportunity.
They've just got to feed him. I think they said from the top, the laid out of Jake Cox has not helped.
Just singing the same thing.
Has not helped at all. I think on a night like tonight he might have brought out some of his better work, but not to be. So we restart proceedings here in the middle of KG5. Bounce down. Duffy's been well on top in the ruck, and that bounce, well, that helps him. But it falls the way of the Roos. Jones on hands and knees, farms it out. Here's Camrick. He's explosive from the stoppage. 1, 2, 3, 4 with Duffy and Webb, and then he finishes it with a kick to Banks Smith, who's got a bit of room to work. Kicks just... it's going to be a whistle.
Unnecessary from Howlett, because Banks Smith slewed off the side of his boot. It wasn't going to favour anyone.
So Cow Daly, not someone you want with the ball. He should have the journey from here. It's probably about where he caps out, I reckon. At 35-40. Quality small forward in this Glenorchy lineup. Out to the right. Kicks on its way. Fades out to the left. And seen through for a minor score.
He'd be a lock for the under-25s for Mullen Road as that small forward.
You lock him away as the ball comes out. Webberley. Not his best kick. Good tackle applied by Mott. The ball to be thrown in, locked in again by Glenorchy. Chris Rowbottom.
It looks like Ling going with Camrick now. He just had 3 disposals, and that was sort of Lockie Neal, sort of Tom Mitchell-like, wasn't it? A couple of 1-2s as he gets it again and tumbles the footy forward in the Daly direction. He swooped on his opponent. He was unable to quite affect the kick as Clarence remain under the pump. That's a nice bit of work from Banks as he gets it over to Webberley. Now to Jones. He escaped the tackle, and they might have something on here. Clarence on the outer side. Lewis Johnston gathers cleanly. Kick inside 50 now for the Roos. Bouncing ball, and he hits a target. Nice kick. And that's Neal getting on the end of it. And that's their best passage of play this evening.
No doubt. And he was able to get some separation. And that's what you want from forwards. There was quick, fast ball movement. Lewis Johnson involved there. So well done. A nice deep forward 50 entry over the back. And it's important now for Neal to kick this one.
So we mentioned that first goal, and this would be really, really big. Important kick. Sends the footy on its way. I think they like it. Clarence have their second. They get the first of the second term.
Yeah, important for their confidence, isn't it? And a nice response after having an opportunity as a group to settle and get some directions from the senior leaders and the coaching staff, and that's a response they would have wanted. first goal of the second quarter.
Great kick from Lewis Johnson.
I thought he was okay last week too, Lewis Johnson, Gilly.
It's been pretty good for the Devils so far this year. He's a player with a lot of promise. Of course, 19-year-old, overager in the Devils setup, but pretty sure he came late to the game. He's got a lot of promise. So he bounced down in the middle again. Clarence with 1 goal to start the second. Ling, he's got Camrick all over him. It will be another stoppage. It'll be interesting to see if Ling can go to work there and just cut off a bit of that Camrick supply. He's been dynamic early. As Jones gets an unconvincing kick out of the centre square. And fight for the footy. He's climbed into the back of the Clarence player there. Jones and Camrick now wrestle for the footy. Another stoppage.
Interesting period with Clarence kicking the first of the second term. If they can get another one back, then all of a sudden it sort of starts to look far more promising for them as Camrick's whipped around in the tackle, managed to get the handball off to Duffy, sends a high ball to half forward, the Reeves direction. That was a wonderful mark, though, taken on the taller man, going back by Green. Transfers for footy to Neild on the near side, takes the mark sliding. He's got a man on short if he wants. He opts against that, decides to kick long beyond a wing to half forward. The player who's aiming for slipped over. There's a big collision in the middle of the ground and a nice tackle. As Clarence just start to lift a little bit here.
It's been good. The first 4 minutes here for the Roos, working hard defensively just to lock it up.
Duffy and Bailey. This time it's Duffy winning it down. He's got a runner coming through, and that's silk almost. And Daly read it beautifully off hands. Fired off a slick handball to Grace. He'll line up the goals. In fact, he won't. He'll kick inside. That's a wonderful bit of vision to French.
It was brilliant vision because he would have been quite entitled to have a shot at goal. But just as he picked it up, I was watching Clinton French and he made some space laterally to his left and honoured that. And that's been a feature right throughout the first 35 minutes of this game, the way Glenorchy have spread the load.
So Clinton French for his first of the night makes no mistake. He doesn't miss from there. Glenorchy get the early Clarence goal back, and wonderful bit of unselfish play from Aiden Grace, who he didn't make it super obvious, did he? I thought he was setting sail for home, and he hit the target beautifully. And Clinton French, no better hands to have it in than that man.
And it's different look at times, isn't it? That they don't necessarily have the same target out of the goal square. They roll it. We've seen Reeves go down there. We've seen Grace. Now we see Bowden. So they set up really well and play to their strength. Sometimes they go a mid-size forward. Other times we see the tall target. So it makes it really difficult for the defensive Clarence.
Well, they'd want that Ling tag to start paying dividends because it hasn't had much effect so far as we're back in the middle again. Webberley gets the clearance now, kicking well inside 50, and it's a good grab by Jason Bailey. He's played predominantly forward tonight, Cam, as you said, at the other end.
He does draw the footy, though, when we've seen him play forward, boys. He's one of those players who does lead up hard at the ball carrier, and it makes it easy when you've got a good centre bounce clearance and takeaway, which we saw on that occasion.
So Clarence for the first of the second, then Glenorchy, and it's not going to be Clarence here. Horrible kick off the boot. Presented well, took a good grab, but the kick, well, he was found wanting in a big way. But it was good signs from Webberley with the clearance. So the ball will come out from the back pocket. Little one over the top for Webster. Webster played predominantly across half back today. Look at that kick. Delightful. Into the waiting arms of Gunther. Gunther inboard. Bites off the kick and makes it work for Gear. Gear got a couple of options. Finds Mott. Mott doesn't miss targets on the outer wing. He finds Arnold. So been really clean use this from Glenorchy. The kick for Bowden, he reads it pretty well. Hands on for Mott, who kept on running. Back now for Bowden. Has his ball blocked. Good smother. Soccering. He's kept it moving Glenorchy's way. In the vicinity is Daly. Didn't end up with a footy. Riley with sharp hands. Off for Jones. Jones now. Good grab taken by Harper.
Yeah, he's one of those players that needs to respond for mine, for Clarence. Really start to impose himself on this game.
So Harper looking in the nil direction. Couldn't bring it down. Gathered by Webster. He's got a problem. Drops it off for Brennan. Running out of territory. That's holding the footy. Really good stuff from Jason Bailey.
Marking forward, pressure forward, doing it all.
Well, one thing he didn't do last time was the kick.
Well, this is a more difficult shot. Not too many people kicking from here.
So Jason Bailey hemmed in. He's gone the outside curler. And it hasn't worked. A minor score.
So Clarence showing a little bit of spark this term. Been improved. Jason Bailey with 2 shots on goal. One a little bit more difficult than the other as Webster just goes long, big torp out in full back and doesn't really get them much closer than what they were as the big fist sends Clarence back inside 50. Chance there for Howlett. He might have been ripped off it. Pies will run away with the ball. That's off the side of the boot and out of bounds on the full. So a chance for the Roos here to regain possession and who knows, maybe hit the scoreboard. It's in the hands of youngster in Bealey. Kicks inside 50, looking for a big mark, unable to be taken by Bailey again, who's starting to cause a headache. Glenorchy under the pump as they work it out by hand. Reeves gives off to Webster, who shows some toe. Handball out wide's a good one to Mott. You don't want these two combining too often tonight. Webster couldn't quite track the ball. It's grabbed and taken and handballed out eventually, but only as far as Camrick. Pies are working their way out of this nicely. Little 1-2 with Rundle. Kick out wide's a good one to the space. Banks Smith has to wait for it. Eventually gathers, hands off to a runner, and now they've got a couple of players out. So Bester has it on centre wing. Kicks towards half forward now for the Pies. Nice mark taken by Smith as he kicks inside and finds Grace.
Just brilliant ball movement.
And they cut Clarence up there. And Grace gets on the end of it. And he'll kick for his second goal.
It's James Webb there, wasn't it?
It's still the most important kick in footy for mine. That one inside 50, and that's been a feature of Clarence's game. Gee, he's been, I mean, we talk a lot about some of these Glenorchy players that are getting into the peak of their careers, but James Webb is another one who's probably got under the guard over the last couple of years for the opposition.
Pardon me, I think I called him Liam Smith, who's not even out there tonight, so pretty good stuff from me as Aidan Grace misses this one.
Well,
that's a let off.
I'd written that one down, Rowie, so he's let me down there.
Well, I had the pen in hand also.
That was good ball movement, though. They're stunning to watch at times, Glenorchy. Just the ease in which they move it. So from full back, Jones, low-flying bullet. It's cut off by Webster. Here's Banks. Trying to farm it out to the coach. Good stuff from Rundle, but in the end he'll be brought unstuck. Really good tackle.
I actually think the last 5 or 10 minutes of the Clarence team, some of the defensive work has been quite good. Their tackling, their pressure on the opposition has been certainly an improvement since the first quarter.
It was fantastic defensive stuff from Edmondson. The kick didn't find a target though. There's Hope. Out now for Bailey. So Bailey kicks further afield. It's all Magpies though. Arnold acting as the sweeper.
He's a ripper.
He kicks for Bowden. They've gone back a little bit, but they generally find a free man, and that man is Dilger. Here he goes. Gathers. He's got a runner in Banks Smith, so they're just overlapping. Reasonable ease here, the Magpies. Banks Smith will just buy time, and then he's got Bowden. He's, in the end, milked to free.
He's worked pretty hard. Ryan Banksmith playing predominantly on the wing.
So Banksmith kicking in the direction of Duffy or Rundle. Duffy becomes a crummer. Swings it in ball. That's a good kick. Reeves the target. Didn't quite get to him. At the fall, eyeing it off. It's going to be a free kick.
I think he's in danger. There's a motion from the umpire on that occasion.
Not sure whether the behind counted.
Nope.
So Webley took the kick and poked it into the pocket.
So the Roos in possession as they clear defensive 50. It's fisted over the line at right half back.
Coming into up to halfway through the quarter, Gilly, but from a Clarence viewpoint and perspective, at least they've been able to nullify and stem the bleeding from a scoreboard point of view in this second quarter.
So 34 points the margin in Glenorchy's favour. Held strong in the second term so far, but as you say, Clarence certainly improved as Webley just breaks the tackle and paddles it towards himself. He's unable to gather the footy and it spills out of bounds. Just between wing and half back for the Roos. Out there, that might be the Bev show. Doing some of his finest here at KG5.
I wonder whether he's hit the gym midweek and just given those biceps a go, because sometimes a bit weak, especially in the blustery wind.
Doesn't have the lustiest of ball ins, but this one was a pretty good one as Glenorchy looked to go inside 50 off the boot of Motts, who's under pressure here. That's a big tackle on Bealey. It's all wrapped up. So another stoppage here. As the Pies look to really just sink the boot in and kick another one. Reeves doing the ruck work. He won it cleanly. It fell to Daly, who was tackled in a big Jones bear hug. Takes him to the ground. He's not going anywhere. And the umpire says, "I'll have it, please." Another stoppage.
They're undersized again. Looks like Sam Green going up in the ruck for the third or fourth time this quarter.
He's just dealt with there as well. It's a commanding hit out from Reeves. Jones eyes it off. Sniffing around it was Daly. Dilger tries to hold it in. They jump on top through Green. And he's plucked a free kick.
I didn't see that.
Wow. Holding the ball against Green for trying to hold it in. I did not see that one coming, Cam Brown.
No, I didn't, and I looked away just to see, thinking it was going to be a ball up to see which way how both teams were set up from what I thought was going to be a stoppage. But this will be a body blow for the Roos, because I think their effort's been really good in the first 15 minutes of the second quarter.
So Dilger should pop this one through, and does. So that one hurts a lot for the Roos. So much hard work evaporates as Dilger steers through. Another for the Magpies.
Yeah, they've all got to him too, haven't they? Back into the team. He's been a stalwart of the Glenorchy Footy Club now for a long period of time. Great to see his teammates get around him. There's competition for spots, isn't there, Ray, with this Glenorchy team? We know that they've got some injuries, but players coming in, getting opportunity, French and the like, they've got plenty to play for, so they're all hungry to get amongst it and play well and put their name up for the following week.
Yeah, they bat remarkably deep, the Pies, and the big one that's not out there tonight, of course, is Braden Webb, who would be a huge loss for any team, but Glenorchy seem to be able to cover him so well, and the emergence of Camrick has certainly helped that as John Gear goes into the middle now as well. And yeah, they've just got players that can do jobs all over the park as the Roos look to go forward. Gunther looking to gather the loose footy. He's worried out of it. He lays a big tackle. There's a call of highs. Pies will now emerge with a footy through Salter. Kick out towards the wing looking for Reeves, and it will bounce in front of him and dribble out of bounds.
Paprotny's a nice mover, boys, isn't he, from a Clarence perspective? Good kick of the footy.
He was the player in the pre-season. We asked Jeremy Webley, who should we be looking out for? And he said, Oscar Paprotny, who's had a really, really strong pre-season. And he didn't hesitate in saying his name as well. So obviously rated really highly by the coach. And as you say, he's a smooth mover as he gathers the footy there and sends Clarence to half forward. That's a nice strong mark taken by Bailey.
He's been good. I reckon he's a little bit too far out though, boys, so someone might need to present up, although he's going back like he thinks he can make the distance.
Well, this would be a big kick. Just to stem the flow a little bit. Bailey certainly approaching with intent. He sends it on its way. It won't get there. It'll be touched over the line. No, it's gathered. And it's a high tackle. It's been
free kick.
Paid. to, I think, Banks it might be. Chambers. So Chambers will have a tough shot from the right forward pocket. Just assesses what he has in front of him. Goes the right foot, check side. He looks to have bent it through. Nice finish, Chambers. Clarence get their third.
Well, a couple of goals each in the second quarter, and that one just for maybe over-exuberance from the Glenorchy defender. Free kick was paid, a nice finish across the body from Chambers.
So, yeah, stems the flow a little. Still a very tall mountain to climb for the Clarence Roos against the old enemy.
At least they've closed them down a little bit, Gilly, in this quarter.
So, umpire Butler bounce the ball. Duffy been pretty darn good today. He brings it down. Camrick has Lingford company. Probably should have got a free kick there, Camrick. He eventually will. Ling will be filthy because he ended up with a footy and he wasn't the one that gave away the free kick. So he steers it out to the outer side. Here's Mott. Game 150. Gets his kick away. That wasn't his trademark laser-like boot. He sweeping through was Jones. He finds Webley. The experienced custodians of this Clarence side. Steering inside was Webley. It's all black and white. That's fantastic stuff from Gunther with a pick up and give. It'll be a hard ball to win though as Clarence come back inside 50 through Jones. Out the back. Good grab, Smith.
Yeah, I'm really pleased for him because he was the player that was on that last inside 50 entry, but they just couldn't get the ball over the back to him. But this is good. Stood underneath it. And some nice elevation. I reckon there's a bit to like about this kid, boys. He presents up at the ball carrier. We mentioned that last week, and he just hasn't been able to get on the scoreboard and get reward. So well done. Good persistence there.
Well, he does now, Cam Brown. On the board is Smith. And a couple in a row for Clarence. Just some green shoots in this game.
Yeah, there has been. Paprotny, we spoke about Banks before the game. Smith's another one. The difficulty with it, Preshaw, they're undersized, aren't they, from a physical point of view? So it's going to take some time, a couple of pre-seasons before they really fill out physically and develop. But we see little pockets, don't we, throughout, and that would be the exciting part from a Clarence perspective, certainly looking long term.
Back to 28 points here at KG5. And
well, throw it up again, boys.
Well, we know Damien Gill's thoughts on the bounce. We won't harp on it, but that wasn't a fine example of
sack it.
The craft that Gilly says should be sacked from the game.
I must admit, it's been pretty good tonight.
It has. It's
been pretty good.
The counter would only be at 1 tonight, I'd say.
Yeah.
And even that wasn't terrible.
That was pretty bad.
So away they go, the Pies. High ball, shallow entry inside 50. The fist came beautifully roved here by Callan Daly. Set sail for goal. That is a Daly special.
Now, this hopefully we get the replay, boys. He just reads it so beautifully from a small forward. His ability to tread water. Just watch him here. He waits, gets in the right spot, front and centre, predictable. That's where it's going to go more often than not. But then the breakaway speed and delayed across the body. He's an absolute ripper.
Well, he's in the form of his life, isn't he, Cam Brown? We're calling highlights like that on a weekly basis now.
Yep. He's just consistent. He's 2 or 3 goals a week. He's 2 or 3 assists. He probably has 9 or 10 score involvements. 20 touches. He can go up into the midfield. He's hard. He's good overhead. Terrific footballer.
As soon as the ball came to ground, you knew exactly what was going to happen. That's not a bad bounce. And it falls away of Camrick again. He has had a major say on this game. He powers one in the Grace direction, meets Grace, but he doesn't complete the grab. Coming through nicely was Bushner. He probably should have given the first option, able to get out of it. Now it's with Webley. Webley steers the ball to the outer side. No one really there. Fresh air swing doesn't help Clarence, but coming through is Bailey. He's had some great moments in this game. Good stuff from Banks. Handing on They've done okay here, Clarence. Back with Webberley. He finds the skipper. So Jones has Howlett short, ignores that, goes long, Neiled the target. Neiled lets it run out the back. Harper. So another for Clarence. It's been a much better quarter.
Yeah, that was good ball movement, wasn't it? At least they're taking the game on. You probably got to block the scoreboard out from a Clarence perspective. And again, it was a nice deep entry. And carried over the back. Harper just got some separation from Webster there. Made no mistake from the goal square.
Just getting it in nice and quick.
Yeah, you just
catching the defence on the hop a little bit.
Exactly, give your forwards a chance.
They've done well to cut the margin.
I'm concerned about the matchup though for mine, Camerick boys. He continues to be the most dangerous player on the ground in terms of breaking away from the centre bounce clearances and stoppages.
Do you look to a Chambers? He's done a lot of jobs in the past. I know Ling has too, but he just can't keep with him.
Another suspect bounce in this one. He's called back.
Yeah, gave it every opportunity, but
why do we still bounce it?
What he has
got on about this every week, but
you're the man in the head office in there at AFL Tasmanian. Maybe you should get
not in my department.
Get in a few years higher up.
Might have to change that as it comes out of the middle off the boot of Webberley. It's here for Clarence again. Bailey farms it out. Smith back for Bailey. He rides the tackle. He'll bring it to ground. Farms out a handball. Picked up by Gunther. Tries to shake past a couple. Here's Riley. Howlett there too. He was held without it. He'll get a kick here, Howlett.
Now he's just got to work his way through this and try and spot up. He's signalling like he wants to go deep to the top of the goal square.
Bailey
exactly where he goes.
Offering short, and he does head to the goal square. Nailed the target.
Oh.
Nailed. He's a handy forward, Cam Brown.
Yeah, underrated. And it can be a difficult matchup because he's strong overhead. He can lead up and present as well. And what he has shown, if you can get it in his vicinity, in his area, more often than not, he's going to reward you. And we said a quarter time, he just didn't find any separation or opportunity. And this is good from the Roos, a really good response.
Well,
to come out and kick 5 goals. They've actually won the quarter.
Well, they're making a game of it, aren't they, Ken?
Yep, and they've cut the margin to 22 points, which is exactly what we thought, from a Glenorchy perspective, they wouldn't want to happen in terms of just letting Clarence get their energy levels back into this contest and get some reward from effort on the scoreboard perspective. They've certainly got that coming into half-time row. Probably a couple of minutes to go. They'd be wrapped if they can get this margin and keep this margin to around the 20-point mark going into half-time.
I think they would have taken 22 points at half-time every day of the week if you'd asked them at quarter time.
I reckon Jeremy Webberley's been enormous in this too.
Yep.
Certainly has.
Oh,
there's another one as Damien Gill puts his head in his hands and goes and takes a quiet moment in the back of the box. Up by Joe
Harris.
Harris.
Good for their confidence, the umpires.
And he throws it up and it goes directly up in the air. So Bailey now for Clarence as the Roos go forward once more. Diving attempt at a mark from Neil was unable to be taken. Pies will not want to concede one here. They'll work it out of defence. Good ball towards the wing. Needs to be held by Reeves. Bounced off his chest though. Rundle goes in after it. Gives a bit of don't argue. In fact, it's a holding the man free kick. And it'll be back in Clarence's hands.
He's been pretty good on the superstar, boys.
We haven't called Jay's name barely at all in this second term. He kicks short. Makes Bailey work for it, but he manages to bring it down with the one mitt. So he sends a high ball now inside 50 for Clarence. He's waiting underneath it, but, gee, as I say it, Bowden.
Yeah, they've just rolled him up, haven't they? Because they need his experience and skill up in the midfield at the moment just to control it a little bit more.
He takes a nice saving mark and now kicks Glenorchy to a wing. Umpire says another free kick and Clarence will have the footy again.
It's going to go to Sam Green. He's undersized at times.
Reeves really taking his time.
It's going to go to Bailey.
I thought he was flirting with a 50-metre penalty there, Big Reeves. So Bailey now, who's battled hard in the ruck all night. Kicks Clarence inside 50, big fly at the back. It'll be tracked out by Duggan, who manages to gather cleanly. He's got Banks Smith on short. Still in defence. Pies have worked it out this side of the ground well all night, but he opts against that. Goes back to Webster, who's on the last line of defence. Little kick in ball is good. Now to Boat, who kicks out wide for Rundle. So he's still at right half back. So he patiently bides his time, kicks toward a wing eventually, big fly over the back, unable to be taken, ball shoved out to Daly, who just twists and turns and weaves and gets away through, eventually got it to Reeve, his kick was affected, tumbling ball for direction, Jones will gather a loose footy, he's ripped down, the umpire will say, I'll have the footy please. A stoppage right in front of the broadcast position, deep into the first half. Glenorchy by 22 points. Clarence searching here. Bailey sends a high ball towards 50, but the siren sounds and Clarence hit back in that term to cut the margin to 22 points at half-time here at KG5, boys. Intriguing second half about to unfold.
Yeah, look, they'd be disappointed, PK would have thought, from the Glenorchy point of view. They just lost control of it in the last 10 or 15 minutes. But in fairness to Clarence, their effort was right there from the first 5 or 10 minutes, and they maybe not, they probably didn't get the reward on the scoreboard in that first half of the quarter, but certainly in the second half of the quarter, they certainly were able to kick some back-to-back goals, which is great for their confidence, so they can go in 22 points down. It could have easily blown out, as you said, Ray, to a 50-point margin even at half-time. But now, and you just look at the body language there, they've been gathered in by the coaching staff, and they'd be going in with some real enthusiasm and confidence, and be able to show as a group that they've got reward for the effort and the persistence that they put in that 30 minutes, which is a really great response. And we saw them last week, Gilly. That's certainly their best quarter of the 6 that we've seen.
Yeah, that's more like it for Clarence. I think Jeremy Webley and his coaching staff would be wrapped with the response, because they've cut the deficit, and it didn't look like being that way about halfway through the quarter. They've won the term, and they've got themselves in the game. And, well, at quarter time I was talking about scoreboard management, but at this point they're still in the game, Clarence, and they've done well to be in the game, and it's been built off the back of some of those, I reckon, middle tier types getting into it as well. I thought Harper had a better quarter, and Chambers with a good goal, but I really liked that quarter from Jeremy Webley in the middle. I thought he sort of put the team on his back and carried them along. It's a fascinating game as it stands. 9-5-59, 6-1-37 as we have a look at some of the highlights of that first half.
Well, both teams went a bit deeper, didn't they, when they went into their forward half, particularly Clarence. That seemed to be their preferred mode going into the forward 50, to go long to Neild in particular. And, yeah, I thought there were some really positive signs. It's going to be another opportunity, though, another challenge for them in the third quarter, because Glenorchy will want to respond. And for whatever reason, we're seeing more goals kicked to the left of screen.
Yeah, so the next term will be the big term for sure for Clarence. Big night for the Glenorchy Footy Club. At the moment, they hold a 22-point margin. Stay with us here at KG5. We'll have a brief break from commentary. There are, well, that's the equation, and the goal kickers. As I said, we'll have a brief break from commentary. We'll be back with the second half. Stay with us. So back for the second half here from KG5. Glenorchy with a handy lead. Just looking at the scoreboard, looks like it's been adjusted to, what is it, 7-1? We missed a goal there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake, isn't it?
I think that is a mistake.
We might have that looked at. Do your math there, Rowie.
Well, I've only got them down for 5, so I've missed a goal somewhere. But I think it's. I'm fairly sure
somewhere in the middle.
I'm fairly sure our score on screen is the correct score.
Here they go. They've just fixed it up.
Yep.
Good to see. Big second half on the way, gentlemen. What do we expect from this contest?
Hopefully more of the same from Clarence. They kicked the first one of this term, then it's well and truly game on. It was only quarter time and we were sort of praying that it wouldn't be a Glenorchy blowout. That such was the dominance of their first term. But Clarence hit back in that second quarter, and all I want to see is them continue that on, because if they do, then it's going to be a really tight encounter.
So here we are. First bounce of the third term. And up it goes. Duffy being terrific. Drops it down. Gathering was Jones off for Webley. Had a really impactful second term. It's a good grab, I thought, almost taken. Howlett now rides a tackle. He might have a real problem on his hands here as the ball's pinged to him. Eventually it comes out. Here's Webley again. Just chisels a pass. That's great for Neal. Onto his chest. Had a big impact as well, did Chris Neal that term. Drives long. Harper the target. Brought to the fall. Snapping. Goal! So a fantastic start. It's finished off by Oscar Proprotny.
Yeah, he's a smooth mover and got some nice forward craft, hasn't he? Impressed with Neil, boys. He didn't have the best first quarter, but that's been a really good match-up to watch on Harrison Gunther. But a terrific start. The Roos the closest they've been for a while, 16 points.
16 points indeed, and gee, long way to go in this game. Clarence with a little bit of momentum here at KG5. It was Glenorchy out by as many as 39 at one stage. And they've pegged this back to 16 at KG5. And what is a big night for the Glenorchy Footy Club. Their centennial game, the Binton-Lingley Cut, of course. As it is kicked around the corner towards half-forward for Glenorchy, but once again regained possession and kick towards half-forward. Players will fly. Free kick's been picked out.
Pucked off go to the Roos as well.
Clarence, so another chance to go inside 50. Here's Smith.
He's getting a bit of reward for his efforts, Smith, this week.
So long and deep inside, forward 50. Who can take a grab? Neil was there. There's been another free kick being plucked out, and it will go to Clarence. So
Neiled, I think.
A very, very good chance to slice this margin back to just 10 points.
He just draws the footy, doesn't he, from a forward perspective, Neil?
That was a soft one.
Eyes weren't on the ball, Arnold. Umpire has ruled it illegal. As Chris Neal comes in, makes no mistake, puts it through. 10 points the margin, Clarence on fire.
Their energy levels are right up at the moment, the Roos. They'll probably kick the last 4 or 5. Now there's a free kick off the ball. They're going to get another kick here,
again.
Clarence.
Clarence again. It's Bailey, and I think he's been driven to the ground again. So I think it'll be a kick out of the middle.
No, it's actually going to go to Glenorchy.
No, it is.
He's
Not sure
definitely
what's going on
signalled,
here.
didn't he, the umpire?
No question.
There was a whistle and a signal.
Yeah, it will be a Glenorchy ball.
Cancelled each other out, the umpires.
But a 10-point advantage the way of Glenorchy now. Clarence have roared back into this game. They look, well, I was talking about managing the scoreboard, as I said, is geared now. Drives from within the square. Looking in the Bowden direction. Butterworth did well just to nudge him out of it. Good tackle applied on Daly. There'll be a stoppage inside forward 50. So just 10 points the margin. Cam Brown. Huge start to this term. Up it goes again. So Reeves, unconvincing hit out. Ball blocked from James Webb. Will land in the arms of Bowden. This way, that away. Snap on goal. Jay Bowden doesn't miss those. Instant reply for the Magpies.
Yeah, body blow there for Clarence, but watch him here. He just finds some space. He actually turns on his left foot. Such is his confidence, and young Butterworth didn't do a lot wrong there, but such as the sublime skills of Jay Bowden. Kicks his second and goes deep to the goal square. So a good response there from Glenorchy after probably the last 4 or 5 goals to the Roos, I would have thought.
If there was one man who was going to answer the call, he's always going to be the champ. Jay Bowden kicks his second. Margin back out to 16 points now, but Clarence certainly well and truly in this one. They'll get it out of the middle again. Long ball inside 50. It's chopped off by Webster.
Good mark. Oh, he's chopped that.
Tumbly ball outside, defensive 50. The player couldn't quite gather it. Mott came bursting through, kicked forward on his left foot looking for Daly, was ripped off the ball. Dilger couldn't gather it cleanly and go. Bowden feeds up a handball to Mott. Could it be 2 in a row for the Pies? He sets sail on goal and drills at Reece Mott.
Well, he's been damaging, hasn't he? Maybe went out of it a little bit in the latter half of the second quarter, but he's pushed forward today, and that's the second time he's got inside 50, and he's always been a beautiful kick of the footy. Makes no mistake. Interesting from a coaching perspective, boys. The assistant coach, Jared Reid, a multiple premiership player life member, pulling the reins down there on the bench, and then we've also got Grant Fagan, who was a multiple premiership coach and would have had Jared Reid in his team, who's helping Glenorchy out tonight.
That was big, wasn't it, when Fags made the move over to Glenorchy to help out. From an off-field perspective, he's such a staunch Clarence operator.
So they've fought back in a big way here, Glenorchy, after a couple of goals. Scared them a touch. Good tackle applied on Rundle. And fight for it on hands and knees in the bullseye. Jones, as he often is, bottom of the pack, doing the hard stuff. Duffy really liked his game Fantastic ruckman. Brings this one to ground. Ling couldn't gather. Geared. Shoves it back in Ling's direction, and he just tries to crawl his way out of there.
Yeah, Duffy's happy to whack it into space, isn't he? And back the likes of Camerick and these sorts of players to run into space.
So Duffy again colliding with Bailey. Bailey betters him on this occasion. Riley fed it out. The sweeping kick. The right way for Clarence. Neal gathers. He's kicked 3 already. He was well brought down by Gunther. Here's Harper. Shakes off Gunther, but can't shake off the second tackle. It was good recovery from Gunther.
You just sense Glenorchy have lifted a gear here. So good challenge for this young Clarence group.
It's like it's that goal to bring it within 10, sprung them into life. This one's cut off by Jones. Back through Chambers. Jones deep. The goalkeeper is Webster. Doesn't gather. Lets in Clarence. Oh, they've stolen one. They have pinched a goal, Clarence. And it was Popotny.
Yeah,
Oscar Popotny, the second goal. And it was thievery, Cam Brown.
Yeah, look, he liked that moment again, Zach Webster. He just seemed to lose his way about here. I don't know whether he's worried about the goal post, but unfortunately for him, he desperately tried to come in and smother it, which he did do.
He actually did, and then bounced it up.
He's got some nice balance, Popotny, as a player, hasn't he? He didn't panic in that situation. Good response from the Roos. Great start to the third quarter.
Well, that's a nightmare from Zach Webster. You want that moment again, that's for sure. Maybe a bit of dew forming out there, and it just slipped out of his grasp. Popotny made no mistake from close range as the Pies tumble one inside 50 now. They'll work it out here. Potentially the Roos. Kick miss Chambers as Runda went after it, spun out of trouble, gave it off to a runner in best day, sent a tumbler high up in the air towards the pocket. May have been a hold. Bowden in there. In fact, there's a free kick that has been plucked out, and it'll go to Clinton French.
Geez, I reckon young Butterworth a bit stiff.
Oh, yeah, he actually held his body really well in that contest from Bowden. Yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it?
So Smith, as he does so often, Clinton French kicks the goal.
That's his second, isn't it?
Yeah,
Clinton
and
French.
we know he's been in terrific goal-kicking form at Mercury Cup level, right? Kicked 5 or 6 last week, a bag the week before that, and he's playing his role tonight. No doubt fit, he's in their best 22.
Bulldog medalist, of course.
Bulldog medalist was terrific. I think he might have kicked 4 in a low-scoring game in that one.
Back out to that 22-point margin as these bitter old foes exchange blows.
Bit of a shootout, isn't it, the start of this third quarter?
It's exciting footy to watch. The spirit in which Clarence have displayed since quarter time has been really good. I think they'd be pleased down there as Edmondson in the ruck now. Looks like Clarence made the change in there. It's going to be a free kick to James Webb, though, for a hold against Riley. So Webb, long raking ball, is not a bad one for Dilby. He couldn't bring it down, but at the fall, guess who? Daly. Good smother from the youngster Butterworth. Sweeps a kick out of defence. Punch brought down. At the fall, it was Edmondson. They try and shake off a tackle there, but it was run over the boundary line. So the umpire will have it.
Does really work hard off the ball too, doesn't he, with his 1%ers, young Butterworth. One of his great skills is actually smothering a footy. We've seen that a couple of times tonight.
When it comes, that was a blatant shove in the back. It'll be a Glenorchy free kick. Camerick ends up with a little kick outside of the boot. Lands on the chest of an opponent. It was dropped inside 50, and Pies swoop to lock it in. Grace is there.
Yeah, Bushner there. Probably should have marked that intercept kick.
Have a stoppage inside Glenorchy's forward 50. Grace did the ruck work there for the Pies. As player goes after it, and Bester and Camerick comes on in and lays the tackle, and we'll have another stoppage. So 22 points the margin. The same margin it was at half time. Up they go again. Reeves patted it down. Riley missed it. Out to Jones now, and here's Chambers for Clarence. Kick inside 50, open forward line. One-on-one contest. Was missed at the back. Kneeled, waiting to pounce on the loose footy. He manages to gather. No, he doesn't. He does in the end. Outside of the right. Wonderful smother. Hall came across. Now it's in the arms of Gunther. His footy is smothered as well. It'll bounce out of bounds. Left forward pocket for Clarence.
Bailey collapsing there. He's done some important stuff, Bailey.
Yeah, he's certainly lifted, I thought. There's one player that lifted the group early on in that second quarter.
So back with live action. Reeves and Edmondson, who's been thrust into the ruck. Harper tries to find some room and ran out of time.
Bad luck, though. I like the movement and trying to show some initiative.
So Mott with a rare error. And it lands in the arms of Clarence. So they bring it back towards the 50, but Gunther, as he often does, floats across.
Young Eade that was, has come in for Cox. He's done some pretty good things tonight.
With great style, Gunther. So they bring it from this broadcast wing, Glenorchy. A fascinating contest. Butterworth sets himself, as did Grace, arrived well and dropped it down for Dilger. Dilger, spinning kick inside forward 50. French. So he's kicked 2 already. One of 5 multiple goal kickers in this game for Glenorchy. Over the top, here's another one of them. Bowden!
That's a brilliant goal. Now,
he made that look dead easy,
Cam. He did. That's only because we've seen him do it 250 times, minimum.
About 520 now, isn't it?
French just pulled the kick, and that's just Forecraft knowing exactly where the goals are, because he had no time to look. And that's a man who's done that a lot throughout his career. As you mentioned, Ray, over 500. Heaps of them like that across the body, at least a couple of hundred.
He's done it all.
And that was a challenge, isn't it? We were talking off air for young Butterworth, who may have actually been
freed up
a little bit.
Whistle here. Might be a 666 warning potentially. Looks like it is. A Clarence player exits.
An extra in defence.
Exits the defensive 50 up onto the wing, and then the winger goes into the forward 50. So feels like only moments ago this margin was 10 points, and it's back out to 28. So the Pies have certainly responded to the challenge that was well and truly thrown down early in the term by the Roos. Let's go back into the middle of the ground. Duffy does the ruck work. Player came bustling on through. Chambers might have got one in the back. Umpire said he did. It was Mott who gave it away. Chambers been pretty handy tonight. Something he likes around the back. Just drops it off. Kick now towards half forward. Falls into the arms of Jones, who just spots an open goal scorer. He's got a man running back in Neal.
Great punch.
And Gunther, as he's done so often this season, gets in a defensive fist.
Great front and centre and deep forward 50 entry from Brady Jones.
So Webster will look to restart things from full back. He likes those low burners, and I don't know whether they're that high percentage. It's in the arms. Clarence player, I think it's Paprotny. He drives into the pocket. Here's Webster again trying to keep it alive.
They would have liked that inside 50 entry back again, the Roos. We had a little bit more time than he thought. Errant kick, but they'll get an opportunity here.
So the ball to be thrown in the forward pocket for the Roos. They started this term on fire, but in the blink of an eye, Glenorchy have extended the lead from what it was at half time. They wrestle forward in that pocket. Duffy out the back becomes a rover. James Webb inside. Good pressure applied by Bailey. Picked up by Edmondson. They'll try and farm it out here. It's good work at the back. I think it was Duggan. Helped it on its way. The ball is blocked from Green, and it just ping-ponged around before it landed in the arms of Gunther. And he's got great style. He moved and manoeuvred around, but in the end he ran out of time as Ryan Bailey arrived. So Bailey sets off and sets sail, looking deep. Almost a mark taken, not quite. Scurried kick out, will land in the arms of Howlett. He's done well to handle his opponent there and take in the mark.
Yeah, he's a player that's been in and out of this Clarence team for a couple of years, but this season has been able to get some continuity at this level. So an important kick for his confidence. Been around the peripheral of state teams as well, young Howlett.
So the margin is 22 at half time. Clarence fired early in this term and cut it, and then Glenorchy have extended it. So Howlett to bring it back to near that margin. He struck that awfully.
It's his confidence. He's in the peripheral state teams that he's been around the mark, but it would have been nice for him to have kicked that, but that was a shank.
Saw Webster drop one early, the slippery footy, and maybe that one just slipped off the side of the boot too. As that man Webster brings it in. It's in Magpie hands as the ball is tumbled up beyond a wing. 2-on-2. Bowden came bursting through but couldn't gather. Ends up in the arms. Clarence player who just dipped a little ball forward. Camrick was magnificent. He eventually got caught. Umpire said holding the ball. Eade was up to the task for Clarence. He said, "You're not going anywhere, Ben Camrick." Stripped him of the footy and earn a free kick.
Injured a fair bit in his junior career, Eade. Oh dear.
So that's another shank. That's like me on a Saturday on the golf course. Off the toe. So, chance wasted for Clarence. Kick goes in the direction of Reeves. He's got a little shove in the back. It's picked up out the back by Buchner. A little risky ball inside. He's going to be picked off by Bowden, who eventually fed out a handball. Had a man running by and Reeves, who had to go on the left boot, but it's a defensive mark taken on the last line.
It's a big let-off for Zach Buchner. Continues to tease as a player.
Yeah, that was a coach killer, wasn't it? And here is the coach. Collects the mark from Bailey. He looks long. Direction, I think it's Edmondson there. Tried his best to out-muscle Duggan. It comes back the other way, so it's not Duggan, it's Hall. Lands in the arms of Reeves. Trying to milk a 50, and he's milked it to perfection. So Reeves will get his third.
He's become an important role player for them this season. Can play large minutes forward, can also give Duffy a chop out in the ruck. He's normally pretty reliable in this situation.
Sam Reeves been very good this evening for his third of the night. Yep, straight through. So Glenorchy have answered the challenge in a big way here, Cam Brown.
Yeah, look, an unnecessary 50 really. But he started the game really well, didn't he? At least 3 marks inside 50 in the first quarter. And just playing his role, as so many of these Glenorchy players do, and bob up and kick multiple goals for their team.
They hurt, don't they, those bonus goals?
Yeah, they do, because I think Clarence's effort's been pretty good since quarter time.
So that margin gets re-extended. Glenorchy 14-5-89. They lead Clarence 9-3-57. Almost 20 minutes gone. Third term. Daly in the middle of the ground, fighting hard. Probably the tallest man and the shortest man go head to head there. And Bailey and Daly. So another stoppage goes up once again. Duffy couldn't win it cleanly, but Rundle came bursting through, almost slipped over, coughed it up. Clarence go inside 50, big fly!
Well done, Sam Banks too. Just had the presence of mind to throw it on his foot really quickly.
Great grab,
get it in there.
Edmondson.
Fantastic grab. He dishes off the ball to Jones. He goes long and strong inside 50. Pat forms, nobody able to take the mark. Well rove down there by Harper. He's unable to find a path through. Wrapped up in a big Arnold tackle.
Yeah, we saw Sam Banks there. Just laid it across. Give your forwards a chance.
Good mark from Edmondson, that, wasn't it?
Real good mark.
Up it goes from the stoppage. Dilgert tried to win it cleanly, was unable to do so. We'll have another ball up.
So go back to that Howlett kick.
Yeah.
Just go, geez, that one hurts. They've got in the right part of the ground, Clarence, and they need to make their opportunities count. As burrowing in was Harper. It's a hot footy to win in there. It's not coming out. Glenorchy have done well. Just shaken off. Bit of a scare being sent through from Clarence. Cut the margin to as little as 10 points. Bailey brings it down. Pouncing was his brother.
Brilliant.
And he finishes off really well. That was a fantastic goal. Swept through and threaded the needles. We'll see it again. Ryan to Jason.
He just seemed to get some separation from his opponent. And he was on the move. And he has got some good forward craft for someone that we've seen play probably 90% of his career as a defender. And certainly, probably in the last season and a half, they've often thrown him forward. And he's one player, I thought, in the second quarter, got Clarence back into it.
Been impressed with both Baileys tonight. They've been pretty good.
It's been a good battle in the ruck. Both players have had their moments for either side.
And that is back where we find ourselves, in the middle of the ground. Here's Bailey and Duffy. This time it is Bailey winning the tap down, but taking a tumble as he did so. Jones fighting hard as he's done all night, just rips it out from an opponent's grasp. He's taken by Arundel, who's not letting him go anywhere. He's been pinged, I think, for holding the ball.
I'm not sure how he's meant to get it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the prior opportunity, but probably classed the same as the old drag it in. He was just on his 2 feet when he did so. So Sam Rundle, former Launceston Blue, the beneficiary, kicks Launceston inside 50. Bowden couldn't take it with the one hand. He managed to butter up, shakes off a couple of tackles, couldn't get off the third. Now he's been claimed holding the footy. You don't see that often.
It's that young Eade again.
It's been okay. Replacing Jake Cox as a laid out this evening, unfortunately for all involved. The Roos have it. The back pocket kicks, a dodgy one. Best to come across, affected the spoil. Glenorchy centering ball now to a dangerous position. That's a big fly. And guess who? Well, he just does it too often for it to be a fluke, doesn't he, Jay Bowden?
It's actually a courageous mark, isn't it? To jump back into the pack like that. And it probably don't necessarily give him the credit he deserves for, his courage in the air.
He's flown in 3 deep.
He's already kicked 3.
Managed to hold on to a greasy footy. The mark he just didn't really have any right to take. There's always a chance when he's in the vicinity, Jay Bowden. He's a good player.
Oh, he's missed it. No, he's got it.
It looked awful off the boot, but he's kicked the goal. Jay Bowden
4, I think he's got.
Has another. That's his 4th.
He's a beautifully balanced player. Yeah, 3 for the quarter.
Yeah, it didn't look great off the boot at all, I got to say, but matters little when it goes through the big sticks.
But you'd like him in your side.
Oh, yeah.
At any level, and you just know what you're going to get.
Someday soon there'll be a statue of this bloke out here, I reckon. The amount of times he's put on a show with exactly what we just saw. Amazing player.
And as we mentioned right at the start of the game, and to their credit too, Webberley and Jared Reid, they're sticking with that matchup with young Butterworth.
Well, he's going to learn a heck of a lot, isn't he?
Yeah, the difficulty is that he's probably going to end up with 5 or 6 potentially, Jay, but he shouldn't be too disheartened, young Butterworth.
So back up again. There's one down by Duffy. There's a whistle. It's going to go the way of the Pies, so it will be Duffy. He drops it off to a runner in Mott. Sells some candy and keeps on moving. Mott, left-footed ball, looking for Bowden. He was worked under it. It's going to be a Clarence ball, I think, for the leg out from Jay Bowden, I think.
Beerley with the free kick.
The Toby Green.
Yeah, the Toby Green
karate
rule.
Kick.
So Beerley finds Butterworth. B1 to B2 and then finds Riley. This is just a little hard to negotiate for the Roos. Kick to a crowded area. Floating across, well, was Banks.
He's always been a beautiful kick of the footy, Sam Banks.
We'll see if there's commentary mockers here from Cam Brown. No, none coming as it's farmed out the back. Hall just soccering. Coming through is Ryan Bailey. Looked like he wanted to bring it across the try line, and they're on in a big way. They weren't happy about it.
That's good umpiring.
Keeps it rolling. I'm not sure who was rucking, but Daly tries to pick up the crumb. Climbing on top was Jones. He's still a bit feisty in the background, but you're right, Cam Brown. It quickly dispersed that.
What we like to see, isn't it? Just a little bit of argy-bargy between these two sides, and that's a blatant free kick to Bailey.
Oh.
Well,
Wow.
I've called that wrong.
Oh, and 50.
Well, I thought Bailey was just manhandled there and tossed clean out of the contest by Duffy. My eyes must have deceived me because Glenorchy have the ball.
That's, yeah, I can't agree with that one.
And they
very stiff.
And they have the 50-metre penalty for what I'm not too sure, but probably an expletive. And to be fair, I don't blame the player who was dishing it out. So Duffy, this would be a real bonus. Just eases to 50, just pops it up to the top of the square. Big fist came from behind. There's another free kick, and it will go Glenorchy's way.
Don't tell me it's Jay Bowden.
Well, if you look around, the Glenorchy players aren't convinced who it's going to go to.
I think it might be Bowden, who just got shoved in the back.
Jeez.
It's only...
Didn't see a lot in it, boys.
Ever so slightly as Jay Bowden ambles on in and easily just puts his fifth through. And gee, that was a goal that, well, was really out of nothing. A free kick that we thought went the other way on centre wing, a 50-metre penalty, and then a free kick at the top of the goal square.
We talk about him and wax lyrical about it, but he doesn't show us any signs of slowing down as a player, does he? Like he's
got 7 years left in him, doesn't he?
He's a courageous man to say his best foot is past him, or you know, he's getting to the end of his career, because he just seems to play well each and every week, and season after season.
So another one for the champ. He's got 5 on the board, 4 in this quarter. He has taken the game away from Clarence. There's this big swat out of the middle. Falls under, and here comes Camerick. Gets the kick away, offline to the right.
He's good at gathering that loose ball, isn't he?
It's that burst that he has. It's very impressive. It's Green from full back. Brings it out of defence. It's a pretty good kick, almost for Smith. Banks Smith eyeing it off, just paddles it. There's another whistle. It's going the way of the Pies, so things just not running for Clarence at the minute.
They're plucking it out. There's Millhouse, I think, with a free kick.
So Banks Smith inboard. Party forms. It's just kicked out of there by Reeves, and it might just bounce its way through for a behind.
Sort of jumped out, hasn't it, this one, to nearly 40 points, the margin.
40 points on the nose now with that behind. It was 10 points in this earlier in this term.
Yep.
It was 22 at half time. Clarence kicked the first 2.
That seemed to jolt them, didn't it, that 10-point margin, and Glenorchy kicked back-to-back goals really quickly.
It certainly woke them up out of the slumber they were in after a pretty dominant first term, as the ball goes up beyond a wing now. Players fighting hard for it, and it's Duggan who's been dumped over the line. So 40 points to the good, the Pies. We are in red time. This third term, they've more than answered the challenge. They've answered it and then added a bit of pepper on top. As Bailey just kicked it out of the ruck contest. Riley was wrapped up in a Rundle tackle. He goes in again. Riley now tumbles the ball forward up along the wing. Able to be gathered by Harper as it spills out once more. So deep into the third term, 40 points.
Tyrone wouldn't be far away, would it?
Well, we have surpassed 30 minutes. We're approaching 31. Can Clarence snatch one back here at the death? Howlett One out the handball. Hacked off the ground now by Daly for Glenorchy. Tumbling ball forward, one-on-one contest. Has to be clean here. Reeves on his hammer. Just track it and paddle it and work it out towards the half-back position. And that's not the finest, as that one slews off the side of the boot. Once again, we've seen that a little bit tonight. So Clarence ball here. And there is the siren. So Glenorchy would take a 40-point advantage into the final term. They were challenged and challenged hard early in that quarter. Got to within 10 points after the lead was 22 at half-time. But they snuffed out the flame late in the term, Cam Brown.
They did, and look, the effort from Clarence I thought was still there, and they came out after half-time and really responded. Paprotny with a nice left-foot snap to start the quarter. Then they kicked another one, as you mentioned, Rowe, throughout the call. Got it within 10 points, and then Glenorchy just seemed to click into gear. I think this might have been a free kick to Neil, and that's been a really good battle with Harris and Gunther. Both players have had their moments for either team, but Neil has certainly been a presence for Clarence since quarter time. But they didn't necessarily do a lot wrong, Clarence, in the last 15 minutes, but when you're playing against a well-drilled and organised team, and with a superstar up forward, and the man in screen, Jay Bowden, and he was probably the difference, really, to get that margin out to 40 points, I would have thought, Gilly.
Well, sometimes Jay just decides, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck, and that quarter was an example of it.
And you just saw
Kicked
then,
4
too,
of his 5.
the hands below the knees, bang, just an instinctive give to Reece Mott, who's kicked his second goal. This is a nice deep entry from Brady Jones from memory, and then Zach Webster, who'd love that, back again on Paprotny, was it, with the second goal.
They've tried hard, Clarence.
Yeah, look, a complete contrast, I would have thought, to last week's performance. You certainly couldn't fault their endeavour today, and they certainly up and about, weren't they, early in that third quarter.
There was 2 or 3 goals as well that were genuine gimmies as well through free kicks. The one on centre wing with Bailey, who we all thought was ragdolled off the ruck contest. It ended up being a 50-metre penalty, and the player was marched all the way to the goal square just about. There was a certain goal. There was a Sam Reeves 50-metre penalty from outside 50. That turned into a certain goal. And there was a couple of others too that were very, very preventable from a Clarence point of view. So yeah, you take away sort of 3 of those, and all of a sudden it looks a lot closer than as we see the Reeves one here on screen. And yeah, it's you let a few of those go through, and the margin begins to blow out to that 40-point mark, which is disappointing for Clarence because they did get it to within 10 points.
Yeah.
And when they did, they had some real pep about them, didn't they? They looked like
they were up.
They were up, well and truly up, and just let it slip. That was
a good finish from Jason Bailey, that
great
one.
goal from Bailey.
He's worked well forward. I think that's something they might persist with, Cam.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, gives you an opportunity to develop somebody else down back. Important from a Glenorchy perspective here that they really drive this home. They want a big 10-goal margin, I would have thought, would be the challenge for that playing group after a bit of a lull in the second quarter and the first part of the third quarter. The bye next week, representative footy, which will be fantastic, and then Glenorchy have got the bye after that as well, so
Double
they're
bye.
going to be well rested here. So it's important for them to finish off the contest before I think they meet Lauderdale on the 22nd of June, boys.
Jeez,
so that's
mouth-watering.
Cracker.
yeah, so it's really important, I think, for their confidence that they can get through unscathed, but also put the foot down from a Clarence perspective. They just wouldn't want to finish off 30 minutes time going down by 65 points plus, Rowe, because that would belie some of the efforts and the endeavour that they've showed today, which has been a real improvement in a short turnaround in 6 days.
Yeah, depending on what we do see in the final term, unless they completely drop the bundle, a 65-point margin wouldn't reflect, I don't think, Clarence's efforts tonight, as you say. They've kicked 10 goals to three-quarter time, but Glenorchy's potency in attack has just been so hard to contain. Jay Bowden, I mean, 5 goals, he's run through the midfield for a little bit, he's had a little bit of attention, but when he's gone forward, everything he's gone near, he's just like a magnet for the football. It just
What's
goes near him, and whenever he gathers it, he just doesn't miss, and he makes the most of every opportunity. Even the one that we thought he missed didn't miss; it went through. The big mark that he took, the left foot, right foot stuff. He's just an unstoppable force up there. And then you throw in Reeves with 3. Callan Daly only kicked the 2, but he's been really, really good and busy. Clinton French has kicked a couple, and Reece Mott 2 out of the midfield as well. So solid contributors.
Yeah, Grace is another one. Early looked dangerous, and they've got so many different players that can roll through there, and that's the beauty of their side. And and even through the midfield, they can give different looks at it from an opposition point of view, which keeps you guessing. So a real challenge for the Roos now coming into this last quarter, but I certainly think we've seen some real signs from not only collectively but individually from some of the Clarence players today. They've responded to what was a disappointing effort from them last week, but there's still 30 minutes to go in this contest, and as we mentioned, going into a representative footy next week, so players can give it their all for 30 minutes here.
And who knows? Who knows if Clarence do exactly what they did at the start of that third term, kick the first 2 or 3, stun Glenorchy, and who knows? Anything can happen. They're up against it, 40 points, so make no mistake. And I'm not sure, is that a little sort of haze coming across the ground?
I think it is.
It looks fresh out there,
I think
that's for sure.
Scoreboard's been adjusted, so I think it's 39 points, but or is it 41? 41.
It might be 41.
41, in fact. So
we've had a behind removed.
Removed as Clarence. So
but it doesn't get any easier.
No, there's one less. So yes, a tall order for Clarence in terms of getting a result, but I guess it's just about sort of glimpses and moments from a lot of these kids.
Well, they're underdeveloped, they're undersized when you look at some of these boys, as you expect when you're really young into your career as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, which many of these boys are. And once you get a little bit more confidence in your body, playing at this level, it just takes time. You've got to be patient. So we have seen a move on Jay Bowden. It's actually Sam Green that's gone to him now in the goal square. He's a player I thought was down a little bit at confidence level. Gilly, when we saw him at under 18 level, but I think he's certainly his work rate and effort has been good the last couple of weeks. So he's certainly taken the game on, and he'll be tested now in the last 30 minutes.
Well, let's see what this young Clarence outfit have got up their sleeve. They are 41 points down at 3/4 time. A comeback would be one of the greats, that's for sure, on a pretty special night for the Glenorchy Footy Club. So far, celebrating their centennial season in real style against the old enemy as the siren sounds to begin the start of this final term. Umpire has it in the middle, and you can probably tell by the stream that there is a bit of a haze coming across the ground at the moment, so it's only going to get even more slippery in this final term as Mott gathers the footy, puts it on his left boot, kicks out towards the wing. That man Cammering, he's been fantastic again all night. Gets the 1-2 from Rundle. Has to go back and chase it, but does so eventually. Mott with another touch. Beautiful left foot kick up to a 1-on-1 contest to Daly. Read it best off hands. Gathered the footy cleanly. Fed the footy back. High ball towards half forward now for the Pies, but it's going to be out of bounds on the full.
Howlett's ball. Little one for Hope. Coming this side. He's picked out something he likes. He'll move it. Just barely. Found Bushner. Bushner, not a good kick at all. Gunther probably should have taken the grab. Went for the double fist. But Bushner, bit of a frustrating one tonight. He's had a couple of those kicks that should have hit targets. Just haven't quite landed right for them. The ball will be brought back in through a boundary throw-in. So Duffy. Good hit out for Daly. He's just dealt with by Webley. Howlett at the fall. He finds Jones. Loses his footing as he went to break away. Caught one high. Play will unfold with Webley breaking away. Long driving ball is a good one for Neeld. Coming across with aplomb was Hall. Cut it off at the fall. It was nice stuff by Proprotny He's had some good moments. Out the back, Chambers. Good little fake. Looking at goal now. Instead, pinpoint. And he finds Harper. So Harper has already had one. This will be for his second. That was better ball movement from Clarence. So Harper wanders on in. Easiest of finishes. And a good start to the fourth.
Yeah, it was. And some nice ball movement. And he's one player, Harper. He's been around for a fair period of time now, Ro, hasn't he? He's versatile, can go back, forward. Sometimes he'll be thrown in the midfield. I think he's probably best as a forward.
Yeah, been pretty handy tonight. Kicked with 2 goals. Provided an option forward half of the ground. An experienced head inside forward 50, which they probably needed if they're going to make the most of their chances. So that margin gets clipped back a little bit. They would have been searching for the first goal of the term, that's for sure. The Roos. Let's go back into the middle, and Geared was ripped off it by Bailey. No holding the ball call. As we'll have another stoppage.
Is that Mitch Rainbird doing the running for Glenorchy, boys?
It is, yeah.
Good player.
Nosed him the other week. Not sure what he's up to.
So up it goes again. Jones. Been prolific all night. High ball now towards half forward. There was definitely a tug of the jumper. It'll be a Glenorchy free kick. Got the handball away eventually to Duggan to Mott, whose left foot was magnificent. Umpires have it out between wing and half back. Little kick inside. Umpire says
You've got to come back around.
Got to come back around, yes. That's Camrick. He must be up to 58. He's
become an incredibly consistent player, damaging player too.
And that's a good kick to Gunther.
Speaking of players that have taken their game to another level, Cam Brown.
So Gunther kicks inside 50 again, and I'm not sure if Jay Bowden can take his game to another level because he's already at the top level. There's not much higher you can go.
Can't go higher than sky high.
That's just...
He just reads the ball in flight, didn't he? Young Green worked his way to the front, but then he just misjudged the carry of the kick, which went over the back, lining up for, what's this, a lazy number 6. Lazy, he's doing him a disservice. He's not lazy at all.
So this would be a 6-pack for the champion, Jay Bowden. And, well, there can only be so much you can say about one player. What a magnificent finish for Jay Bowden to bring up his 6th.
It's a beautiful kicking action as well, isn't it? Balanced, smooth run up.
He's a joy to watch, and he's been a dominant force tonight. He has 6 goals. And
he could end up with 8.
How long's he been a dominant force for? Genuinely,
well,
like a decade.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I mean. And it just so there never seems to be a decline in his output.
Brownie, you do a bit of scouting and recruiting and whatnot for the AFL. What's the knock been on Jay Bowden? Why was he never picked up?
Yeah, and I know at under 18 level he had a terrific game where I think he kicked 4 or 5 goals from Queensland. Maybe it might have been some of the testing, the leg speed might have put a few teams off, but he doesn't seem to get run down too often. His leg speed doesn't seem to inhibit him when we watch him at all.
As they wrestle for the ball at the edge of the 50, Neil gets it inboard eventually. Rundle brushes off one, hands off. Here's Webley, interrupts. Caught and gone. I thought coming through was Camrick. Again with that burst of speed. Mott just picked something out that he likes. Dilger went to play on a bit too quickly. Brought him unstuck. Here's Jones and then Chambers. Chambers, he's used it pretty well the last couple of times he's ventured forward, and he finds Bailey.
It's an interesting one with Jay, isn't it? Because he's been such a wonderful servant for Glenorchy Footy Club and been incredibly loyal to that team. I think there was talk at one point he was going to go and play with Collingwood in the VFL, was there not, going back a few years, but that, for whatever reason, didn't come to fruition. We've seen other players, like a Jay Lockhart, make that move, a lot earlier, and potentially that might have been a pathway that Jay could have got in, going through VFL level. Ben Brown's another one that, went through that pathway.
Long ball out of defensive 50. It's just helped on its way by Duffy. There is that man Bowden, who's just so classy and smooth through traffic. He sends Glenorchy forward now. Dilger went to try and just work it forward with the fist. He was unable to do so. Webb was ridden into the ground. Umpires circle and say it will be a stoppage inside the Pies forward 50.
But you wonder where he sits in terms of the top echelon of players to have played for the Glenorchy Footy Club. Because he'd be in the top 2 or 3.
He'd certainly be right at the top of the pile, I would have thought, as Rundle now just sends a ball inside 50. Mark unable to be taken by that man who butters up with a tackle. And you just sense, and I know we're harping on a little bit about Jay Bowden, but every time he goes near it, he dropped them. He didn't get the mark there, but he almost followed up with a tackle. And if you heard a whistle for holding the ball, you wouldn't have been surprised. But the Pies now, one down through Duffy, cleared out of defensive 50 by the Roos. Hall tracks it towards 50, just soccers forward, gathers some territory. Webster breaks the tackle, got the handball free. It's plucked out now. Clarence hit back. That's just thrown onto the boot. High, spiralling ball. Wonderful mark going back. Great
This is
take.
what they do, isn't it? They spread, they run hard. He's got Grace here, Duffy.
He uses him. Grace has got some time and some space. He sends a short ball, pinpoint.
Got some skill, Grace,
To Bowden.
hasn't he?
He's a lovely kick. And he goes short again to French. Been teammates for a long time too, Clinton French and Jay Bowden. Obviously, Clinton French had that spell away from the Pies, but he's back now. And that's a big hang almost taken by Grace as Clarence emerged with a footy. Tumbling ball outside 50. Glenorchy just controlling possession here. Trade Duggan unable to be stripped of the ball. Short one to Reeves, who just pokes one forward. Dilger. He kicks around the corner to the top of the square. Dangerous position. Nice mark taken by Buchner.
I thought he got a shove, Grace.
Yeah, he's crying for it. It's a Buchner ball. He steers into the pocket. It's Preshaw. Young Jack Preshaw just pops it up. Bailey arrives, brings it down, but it's all black and white. Geared feeds out the quick hands. Dilger now with a problem, but distributes the ball as I was caught on the word, and as was the player. And it's another little Daly special.
French got the free kick.
I think it's going. Daly's eyeing it off.
Yeah.
It will go the way of Daly. You see this. Just had the arm.
If you're opting for the stream of the TSL over the AFL, we can tell you that North Melbourne currently had a 33-point lead over Richmond after sacking the coach.
Huge. And here's Cal Daly. He's already kicked a couple. Out to the right a little, and that's where it stays. I'm surprised by that. Just generally makes good in front of the sticks, doesn't he, Cameron?
Doesn't do much wrong.
Must say I'm kind of happy that he didn't kick it because it would have gone a highs package and absolutely butchered the delivery. This delivery is not bad out from full back. Good grab taken from Jacob Smith.
He's been better tonight.
We led up well last week, Cam, without completing the grabs, and he's taken a few more today as at the fall of the ball it's all Glenorchy. Riding the tackle is Gunther. Trickles out. Lewis Johnson tries to just deal with his opponent. They keep it moving here, Clarence. Webley tackle without it. He should get a free kick, but he won't. So 17-8, 110. 11-3, 69.
Well, 11 goals from Clarence. At least they have got some reward from an offensive point of view. So they just didn't have a lot of connectivity at all last week in their forward half.
You're right, they didn't look like it as the ball comes in again. It's gathered by Paprotny. Lewis Johnson is brought down in a good daily tackle. They all just dive in to counter the footy. It'll be another stoppage.
So the sting starting to go out of this one. Glenorchy 41
So's the warmth.
It is cooling down up in the old TV tower here in KG5 as Camrick. Was it Camrick? No, it was Webb. He's ripped off the ball. Going to be holding the ball free kick to Clarence as they work it by hand on the outer side. Here's Eade, who's been okay, as we've mentioned a couple of times tonight. He kicks a shocker, though, straight into the hands of Hall for the Pies, who sends it back with a little bit of interest. Webb underneath it, couldn't take the mark, but Protney tracks it. Beeline the footy and took it cleanly. Nice take, but again, his kick's also a shocker. So the Pies work it into the middle of the ground. Target wasn't hit. Just needs it to sit up for him, and it did. Fed out the handball to Preshaw. He found a target out wide.
He makes good decisions with ball in hand, Preshaw.
So Clarence now, long, low ball. And again, Sam Hall's probably...
Yeah, he's been good. And he's one of those players too, Ray, that's right in the mix, isn't he? Dilger, French back into the team, Duggan. So they're building a core group of, because 22 players isn't going to... You can't rely on the 22. You need a squad, and Glenorchy is sort of pushing it out to 30, 32 players that can rely on come finals time, I would have thought.
He's French at ground level. Fed it up to Rundle, who got it to Camrick. That's a wonderful handball over the top to Webb. If you can finish the goal, that is a really, really impressive bit of play.
I just reckon he gets under the guard, James Webb, at times. And he's been a pretty consistent player for this footy club now, particularly in the last few years, rewarded being named in the under-25 squad. And this is a smart finish, isn't it? He's got time and space on his left foot and to finish. And that's been a real introduction to his game. I would have thought that goal-kicking midfielder wingman.
47 points now. What was the magic number? 65?
Yes, that's what you're right.
I don't think it'll get out there, but...
No, they've done well to just pump the brakes a bit in this term. Jeez, it's cold, just quietly. Back in the middle again. Daly having a stint in there. Feeds out a handball. Jones has worked hard all night. Just does his bit every week, Jones. There's a whistle. It might be Daly.
There's a man down, it's Daly, yes.
Jeez, you just don't want an injury for a player like that.
Well, we don't want it from a competition point of view either. I'd
the
love to see him play.
Rep game.
In the rep game. Now, the umpire
actually
looks like he's writing something down, unless I'm reading that wrong.
No, I think you're right, Cam Brown. Looks like a report. Don't know whether we got it.
Yep, so he's going to... It's because of the tackle, I think, from Ling.
It's been classed as a dangerous tackle from Ling.
But it wasn't a free kick, so I'm a bit confused by that.
I don't think he will have a heap to worry about.
No, he's fine.
Coming through is Daly now. He looks fine. It's Camrick. Opts to go inside 50 off the outside of the right, and Green comes back and takes a good defensive grab.
Good for his education.
So Green, long and strong. Cut off and at the full. It's pretty hard to make out on that far side, I've got to say, as Mott climbs on top. Extracting it was Rundle. Good stuff, but he handed it straight out of play.
Where's his best spot, Gilly, long term, Sam Green? Because we've seen him sometimes play across half forward. We've seen him on the wing.
Yeah.
He's pushed back now as a deep defender.
He's got a bit of height about him. I don't know his height off the top. Oh, probably as a wingman, I reckon. But... You need a bit of flexibility in the modern game, don't you? So that's a really good crumb from Daly, but the tackle was just as good, if not better, from Jones. But he's been pretty good off half-back at times.
Yep.
So Jones brings it forward. It was a nice-looking kick. It's cut off and seen out. Well, they'll have reason to celebrate. We're celebrating, of course, 100 years as a footy club tomorrow night and tonight, but it's a good way just to cap it off with a good win against the old enemy, and they're certainly on their way to a good win here.
I think if you asked any Glenorchy supporter, what's the best way to start your weekend? It's probably a Friday night win over the old enemy in Clarence, which it looks very much like they might achieve tonight, as Camrick finds another target by hand. This time it's Daly. He wanders in and kicks another one. So Camrick has set the last two up by Wonderful handiwork with the hands. This time it was Daly, the recipient. Went to ground, rode the tackle, and just released Daly, who run in and finished, as all good small forwards should.
It was magnificent vision, really, wasn't it?
Yep,
he just
brilliant.
placed it out in front. Daly didn't have to break stride, just hit it at pace, and then the finish, well, that's what we've come to expect from Callan Daly. What's he had now? 3 for the day, so
he's been terrific
he's
again.
done his part. He has 3 a week, though, really, Cal Daly.
And I reckon you go back and watch the tape, and then there's 3 or 4 score involvements, a couple of assists. That's what he brings to the table, week in, week out.
Plenty of buzz and energy and zip and excitement.
And they seem to like to put him in the midfield in the back half of games too.
Here comes Mott. It's probably hands in the back of Bester, but it's worked out okay for Clarence as Bealey gets a kick away. It was onto the chest of Ling, who keeps it moving, and here's Eade, the late inclusion. Pops it over the top. This should favour Smith. Oh, he almost did it all. 3/4 of a grab there, I reckon. He almost could have got paid out the back. Clarence might have a flying shot at goal. Bouncing Goalwood. Across the face.
He's good follow-up. So that's the sort of thing you see from Smith, isn't it? He just shows you your signs every now and again.
He had a piece of it, didn't he?
Yeah. A lot to work with, I reckon.
He's Mott, who hasn't missed a target all night.
Oh, he's just racked them up too, Reece Mott.
Has he had a direct opponent tonight? Grace.
There he is again.
Marks forward of half forward to Mott, to the middle of the ground, to Geared, looking for Bowden, couldn't get him. Still alive though inside Glenorchy forward 50. Jones went low. Clarence will work it out now by hand.
Pressure off the ball, in a bit of trouble.
And wide, good spot, Gill. Pre-sure inside forward 50 on his haunches. The attack will be cut off now at half back. That's a spearing ball into the middle of the ground. Glenorchy just not letting up here. Banks Smith. They go inside again looking for Mott. This kick isn't on target and it's chopped off by Riley.
So Riley just pops it up. This will suit Harper. Good defensive spoil by Hall, and he just streams through. Pops it up in the air. Here we go, the champ, Jay Bowden! How's he taken that? It somehow landed on his chest. He just dealt with them from either side.
As I said,
and took the grab.
It's no fluke.
You boys wouldn't remember Peter Hudson, but I did towards the end of his career at Glenorchy, and that's what I remember, particularly from the 1979 Grand Final. Those marks just falling in his lap. And Jay lining up for number 7.
So Jay Bowden, in he comes. A bit going on behind the mark. Doesn't bother Jay Bowden. 7th heaven for him. And the Pies are capping off a night nicely.
And still some time for him to do some more damage. But tonight, has it been 7 straight, boys?
I was about to say the exact same thing. 7 straight.
That's bang for your buck. What a player, and what a footballing family. When you know, Tyler has had a good career too for Glenorchy. You talk about his dad, who was a triple premiership player at Glenorchy, 83, 85, 86 from memory, and played state footy as a wingman. And he'd be proud of his boys. Michael Bowden actually coached Glenorchy too, with great success.
He's a club stalwart, of course, Mickey Bowden. And GJ, one of the greats of the Tasmanian game, that's for sure. It's
hard to rank him because he hasn't played at that AFL level, but in terms of someone that's stayed local, geez, he's right in the top echelon, isn't he?
To push someone ahead of him.
So Geared, high ball. Mark won't be paid. It spills in front of Camrick. Player goes flying. Work it out here by hands, Clarence. As Neal comes up the ground and takes a nice mark on his chest. He's been really good tonight.
Yeah, he's tried hard. He's got Sam Banks on short if he wants him, but
Ops against the young gun in Banks and kicks a little longer to a contest. Player at the fall of the ball and manages to shovel up a handball, keeps it in play. Harper now goes after the footy. Eventually it does go out of bounds. 21 and a half minutes gone in this one.
20 goals. Fair old evening at the office.
58 points to the margin. So
They've been better than that, you think. But they just, when they put the foot down, Glenorchy.
Yeah. I mean, they have enormous confidence with their abilities by foot, Glenorchy, in particular.
So Duffy from the back gets the decisive hit out. Webster squeezes out a kick and it's seen out of play. So we'll be on 21 minutes. Just a matter of the margin now and how many will be against Jay Bowden's name. I think the votes, I think I did them last week. I'll palm them off today, but I think one part of the votes would be fairly straightforward.
Yeah, definitely. And
as it's slapped down by Duffy, Howland eyes it off. Coming across was Arnold.
A couple of dominant midfielders, haven't they? Camrick has been strong right throughout. Mott has won a heap of the footy, which he always does. Daly, another strong game.
58 points, the margin.
What's the Bev show got here for us? Oh, a bit shallow.
That's a last quarter throw, that one, wasn't
Needs
it?
the bicep curls midweek as a big swinging tackle. And
They
he's
don't
been
like
pinged
that,
for
do they, the umps? It's about protecting the player and
I don't mind
any
it, to be
dangerous
honest.
tackle. Yeah, fair enough.
The one over top from Banks Smith, just centimetre perfect. Didn't leave too much margin for error. Geared. I like what he brings to that midfield mix. Just workmanlike.
Yeah, he is. He does a lot of the grunt work. He's reliable. Been around a long time too.
Has quick hands. Arnold steers down the line. Party forms. Arm chop.
Didn't see it.
He's going to get a 52 maybe.
Oh, geez,
Bailey, I thought, copped him round the chops. There's a fair bit going on in terms of chatter.
They've had a crack, both ruckmen.
So Duffy just pops it up. Arriving is Jay Bowden. Doesn't arrive in time.
They're plucking some free kicks out.
There's some serious whistle action going on. This time it will go the way of the Roos, and it's young Butterworth.
He will stand in the hole, Butterworth, too. He's courageous.
Opts to just concede a little bit of ground to Ling. That's a famous Glenorchy name too. Matthew Ling wearing a Clarence jumper, of course, but Ling, of course,
Danny Ling, I think Jamie Ling, his boys doing the running as well tonight for Glenorchy.
He was a handy footballer too. Jamie Ling, more at my sort of contemporary. Cam Duffy takes the mark. He gave it off to Webb, who had to evade the tackle. He did so. Kick into the middle of the ground. He's a good one. Pies start to build again. He's Geared, who just sets sail from 50. Big fly! Wonderful mark, Aiden Grace.
Well, he's been pretty well held from an offence point of view by Zach Bushner, but he just had time was set up beautifully for him to run and carry. He actually set up in the air for a while too, didn't he? And actually took the mark on the way down, an early fly.
It's a hanger.
And he spent some time up on the wing today as well, at different stages.
This will hurt Clarence. Aiden Grace, they're in the death throes to really add some hurt onto the scoreboard. The former Roo now in black and white. Ambles on in, and it never looked like missing from point blank.
Yeah, 64 points now, the margin. So it certainly got out from a Clarence perspective from where they would have liked it to have been at the conclusion of this game. Set themselves up pretty nicely, the Pies, though, haven't they, boys? Their 7th win coming up of 9 games, so 7-2. Pretty well placed for a top 3 finish. Early in the season still, but it does look like we've got a bracket in that top 3.
Yeah, Launceston, I guess, the only wild card there with a win over Glenorchy last week.
Are they coming from too far back? That would be my concern. But for them, at least they know their best is good enough to beat a top 3 team. But with finals being played down south, it's an advantage, isn't it, for a team like Glenorchy if they can finish in the top 3?
No question.
They flag favourites with the knowledge that the grand final will be played at Belrive?
It's a great question.
I would have Lauderdale.
I like the fact that it's a question we can't answer straight away for the sake of the competition. gee, they're well drilled, they're well organised, Glenorchy. North Launceston, how could you deny them? But
it's hard.
And then Lauderdale, you think if ever they're going to win a premiership, they're primed. So you could mount a case for the three of them. And let's hope that we're doing that in a couple of months' time as well for the competition's sake.
Yeah, it shapes up well, doesn't it? I think for Clarence, it's whether they'll play finals this year. They've got a real fight on their hands against the Tigers. They're going to need to make sure of their games against Tigers and North Hobart.
Yeah, I think they've got the Tigers in a couple of weeks too, boys. So I think they play Lauderdale after the bye, and then they play the Tigers.
That'll be a free kick for Jay Bowden. So he'll spin around and move and look goalward. Will it bounce through the sticks? Yes, it does! 8!
Well, I'm going to go to you, Buster. You've got nothing else to say. Unless you can...
No, I'm out.
But look, but what he does there...
He's a freak.
He senses that, OK, there's no one over the back.
But it just...
I'll play on. I'll break the 50.
It all seems to just compute so quickly.
Yeah.
The gather... Play on, wheel around, know that there's no one there, keep the footy low, know that it's going to skid through in the wet. There's 10 things going on there, and it happens within a second.
Yeah, he's nearly played the perfect game.
And then to actually execute it as well.
That's right.
8 goals for Jay Bowden in a...
Well, it's a 70-point thumping now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's really got away from the Roos, and Jay Bowden this second half has been the chief in that. I'll have that bounce again.
Well, I've literally run out of space in my goals column on my piece of paper. For Jay Bowden, goals.
In the AFL, it's a bit of a thumping lead for the Roos, as well as this one comes out to Daly. He steers it towards Bester, slipped through his fingers. They should be able to mop up here, the Roos. Oh no, Bushner.
It's just sometimes his decision-making, isn't it, Bushner?
He hasn't had a great night, has he?
Just looks to be a little bit unsure of himself, doesn't he, on occasions? And
just
wasn't
such
a fantastic
to it there,
size.
was he?
Yeah, you know, some of his peripheral vision and match awareness, and that's where he'd be frustrating at times, because we've spoken about what terrific athletic attributes he has. And I'm not sure where his best position is, whether it is back or forward.
So Bailey Bester to put the icing on top of a big win. It's touched off the boot and won't make the journey. But a massive win for Glenorchy. Centenary year, centenary game. 70-point thumping of the old enemy. And the champ kicks 8. It couldn't have played out too much better.
No, they doubled their score, and they finished off really strongly, as we see Clinton French just coming off the bench with his, looks like a nice pack on his left hamstring. Let's hope that's just precaution, because he had his moments too throughout this game, and a good contribution with 2 goals. But disappointing for Clarence, the margin. But, you know, if they're going back through this game and seeing some of their edits compared to last week, there'll be a lot more from a positive sense. 11 goals was good from that aspect. They just leaked too many goals, and Glenorchy had just too much class, too many ball winners, too much ability right across the ground. They started to win the contested footy. Uncontested, they got them on the outside. They were very disciplined in terms of the space they provided for all the forwards, and lots of them got on the scoreboard, in particular Jay with 8. Very well placed now, the Pies. I think it was a good response for them against what was a disappointing game last week, Ray, for them against Launceston. So they'll be pretty happy, and hopefully for their sake have get through unscathed. A number of their boys will front up again next week in representative footy at under 25 level, which is great for them.
Kicked a huge score, didn't they? 22-8, 140 to Clarence 11-470, who... No, 70 points, but they weren't that bad tonight, Clarence. It was
more a case of Glenorchy were good.
Yeah, it was just serious efficiency going forward for the Pies. Jay Bowden kicked 8 goals straight tonight. Sam Reeves kicked 3, Daly 3, Clinton French kicked 2, Reece Mott kicked 2, and there were a number of other goal kickers
also
too.
kicked 2. Not Daly, sorry. Grace also kicked 2.
Yeah, so 22,840, 70-point winners, 11,470. The Roos kneeled, kicked 3. I thought he was pretty good. But Paprotny kicked 2, including that little one off the ground where Clarence were really coming. They only trailed by 10 points early in that third term.
Yeah, that's right.
Harper kicked 1, Smith and Chambers as well. So Reece Mott gets chaired off in his 150th 100th year celebrations. Will probably kick off tonight. I think the 99 premiership teams in the house, they'll be sinking a few bevies, that's for sure. I'll roll into tomorrow off the back of a 70-point win for the Pies, who were pretty impressive tonight.
Very impressive. And we did the votes last week, Cam Brown, so I think you're up.
I'm up.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go with the one vote. Apologies to Callum Daly. I thought he was terrific. I'll give it to Reece Mott, actually. The 150 gamer, I thought he won a lot of the footy. Used it pretty smartly, and we'll probably look up and he's probably got 25, 30 touches. So I thought he was terrific. I thought Camerick was excellent as well, right from the word go. His ability to hit the stoppage, break away with speed, and he's just become a very, very consistent player, boys. No prizes for guessing who's got the 3 votes. Again, Jay Bowden, just an absolute clinic in forward craft, balance, skill, high marking, goal sense, whatever you want to call it. And don't underestimate some of the work that he did off the ball. He was courageous in the air, and he also had a hand in a number of goals, boys. So they were the 3-2-1 for mine.
So where to for Clarence? We spoke about whether or not they will play finals this year. It was always going to be a young and a bit of an experimental team for Jeremy Webley coming into this year. They wanted to blood their own youth. They were bringing up through the team rather than bring players in like they've done so often in the past. But the Clarence Footy Club, they have huge expectations. They're a proud club that had enormous success over the years. Is not playing finals still acceptable for Clarence after a couple of years of seemingly developing some guys?
It's interesting because they're probably competing with the Tigers, isn't it, in terms of where they'd sit. And the Tigers, I would have thought, when you look at their list and profile, they would be more experienced, Gilly, in terms of that. So the expectations from that footy club, they would be expecting to make finals. But from a Clarence perspective, they're a proud club, and you're right, Ro. I think they would be setting a challenge for them to play finals footy. It just makes it really important when they play each other in a couple of weeks' time. It becomes the quintessential 8-point game. At the very least, though, I think they'll be able to look back at the end of this season and go, we debuted, 8 or 9 senior players for argument's sake. So many players we played under the age of 17 and 18, and they've played 20 games at the top level. They're the sorts of things I think they'll be able to look back on. And just when you looked at them at one stage in a stoppage tonight, they're just light still, aren't they? Some of these boys just haven't got a frame on them, but we can see when the ball's in the vicinity, each and every one of them has shown some ability that they can play at the top level.
So full time, 22-8-140. 8 of those kicked by the champion, Jay Bowden. Clarence 11-4-70. 70-point win for the Magpies. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. We're going to get away from the stream and try and get warm. A big win for Glenorchy. Magpies fans, enjoy that one. Bye for now. Thanks very much, boys.